be alive. Want to be alive. You see, we're born. Want to be alive. People ask me why I never find a place to stop and settle down. But I never wanted all those things people need to justify the lives. You see, we're born to be alive. Want to be alive. You see, we're born. It's good to be alive, to be alive, to be alive. It's good to be alive, to be alive, to be alive. It's good to be alive. Time was on my side when I was running down the street. It was no fine. Suitcase and an old guitar and something that occupy my mind. You see, we're born to be alive. You see, we're born. You see, we're born to be alive. You see, we're born. You see, we're born to be alive. You see, we're born to be alive. Born to be alive. Yes, you were born to be alive.
Very much appreciated. Guys, here we are, Rotherham.
Morning, Alice Liv.
Oh, hey,
Morning, both.
Oh, that's fucking fenced off well, isn't it? There's only one way in there. Yo, Rob Random, Shazza.
No, it's not. No.
Aye.
One of the clips I picked up from yesterday.
Aye.
Couldn't believe the opposition, so I just thought I'd play it. This is what the opposition is.
Hey, all right.
It's quite funny and quite insane at the same time. Check these fucking idiots out there now. Check these fucking idiots out.
Oh, you all right? Yeah, good. Nice to see you.
Are you live?
Aye.
Give us some warning.
Afternoon, Paulette.
Look at that lot.
Look, my channel, Lulu Shiraz. New channel.
Lulu Shiraz?
Yeah.
Nice.
I was at Liverpool the other night.
Aye.
A bit of footage on them.
I mean, they just think it's fucking clever, don't they?
No, we're getting up with all the social workers here.
I clip mine.
Yeah, I know.
What the fuck, man?
Where we've got a few more beautiful looking specimens have joined in over here.
Okay.
I am. I heard they were coming on coaches, like, I was either going to put a coach on for us, look, one day.
I think they're getting paid too much money.
Again. Hey, Peter Smith, how's it going? Pork chop, aye aye.
Yes, my love, Alice, it is, yeah.
I've just been around the other side, get some interviews.
Aye aye, Bobs.
Walked backwards by 3 of them. Oh, well, I mean, I was trying to get their opinions and they came across aggressive. Some of them. I mean, in all fairness, they're not all like that, but you'd think so, wouldn't you? The way some act. No, over there. Yeah.
I mean, look at what, they can't have a conversation with you.
No, it was a reasonable question.
Aye.
Why are you here today?
I'm going to have any sort of conversation dialect with Alan.
Get over that side.
They can't have a conversation with you. They've got no answers.
Right. So what I've done, I've come to this side now to see if anybody wants to speak about why you're here today. So if anybody wants to say anything.
Well, I think we know what we're here for.
I mean, do you want to say yourself why you're here on camera?
Yeah, no, I'm camera shy.
Bannerman. Yeah. No, Sheffield.
Oh, you're from Bannerman?
Yeah, so basically, I'm reporting anything.
Alice, the way I look at it, anybody over this side of the fence is alright. Anybody over that side of the fence is fucking fucked up.
I followed the EDL, for example. I know you're not EDL.
So I
followed
look
them since 2009. There's an independent reporter, but mainstream media are not actually interested in what's really going on. That's how I understand it. So that's why I do this. You know,
That's why we're show them what's
So
going on.
They tuned me out.
Oh, Daily Magazine.
See if anybody wants to say anything. Would you like to say anything?
Who are you?
Oh, he's independent.
No.
Do you want to say why you're here today?
Where's Lola?
Just
They're not knocking you already, are they?
Angry. They're making me angry.
Alice.
stay to them. Stay to them.
Where's your Lola gone? Where's your Lola gone? Where's your Lola gone?
Aye, Tic Tac, the tea lady, nice for you to join us. I mean, why, seeing that way, not due till 2 o'clock anyway, so.
Daily Magazine, you just haven't got no choice in it. Like, sorry, you were out here. Sorry, it's the way it goes.
Hi, Andy. Oh, I'm just trying to like the travel player.
Pick up even that. Look at this.
Thank you, tea lady, much appreciated.
Look at this fucking lot. I think they're getting paid too much, I do.
Dirty paedophile dude. I bet he's all sports yesterday. He's all sports yesterday. You fucker. Nazis, you support Ukraine. You're the Nazi, you dirty little rat.
Look at him. Look at him.
Traitor! Traitors, the lot of you! Traitor! Traitor to your own countries!
Oh, paedophile.
Morning, Louisa.
Paedophile.
Here they go.
Doesn't believe boys. I don't have any kids. Paedophiles. Dirty paedophiles. Paedophiles.
This is about the invasion migrant hotel all day in Rotherham yesterday. Stop the boats. Across the ring there, you got fucking mindless Antifa. Oh my god, they just, yeah, I can smell them, they stink, man. And then you've got our patriots on this side of the fence. As always, Popo in the middle, keeping things sweet. Yeah, it didn't take that.
I go to
Didn't take
you
long,
Chris,
Louise.
and if you do, who's the Nazi scum? I think it's you, lot. I think it's
Do that together. We're gonna turn your children gay.
your fucking mouth. What are you doing?
Paedophile! Pedo! You're going to do what with children? You dirty bastard! Dirty, dirty paedophiles! Talking about children? Disgusting! Disgusting paedophile!
Using the paedophiles. Using the Nazis. Stop me. You support Ukraine. You're a Nazi. You support Ukraine. You're a Nazi.
Brain dead cunts. Brain dead cunts. Brain dead cunts.
See what I mean? That's all they can do. That's all they can do.
Shut up, you dirty tramp. You dirty tramp, don't get a wash. You scruffy man. You dirty tramp. You still have a thing to it, you dirty scruffy looking man.
Blah, 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 blah.
No one respects you apart from your little gimp squad. There's only two he's there with you right now. Nobody respects you. You don't even respect yourself, man. Show your face. Show your face, you little fucking pedophile.
I mean, how are you supposed to have any sort of discourse with this lot? It's just like it's just never going to happen. Like.
Nuns. You're fucking nuts. You're not yet. Pedophiles. Fucking dirty slugs. Shut up, man, you dirty hammerhead. You fucking scruffy little cunt. You scruffy little beggars. Dirty. I don't give a fuck if it's my home look. It's my home look. Dirty slugs. Dirty tramp. Shut up, you dirty. I'm not pedophile little bastard. We are neighbours hand in hand. We are neighbours hand in hand. We are neighbours hand in hand.
We're saying we are neighbours hand in hand, and what are they chanting after that?
We are neighbours hand in hand.
I think I know what's up.
We are neighbours hand in hand. We are neighbours hand in hand. Hey, it's not up now, Chrissy.
Right, I'm right here, fella. I'm not going anywhere, boys. I'm not going anywhere, pal. I'm not going anywhere.
Nice one, pork chop. I don't know how he's keeping a straight face, that cock I like.
You're dirty, unwashed people. You're not your stuff.
Hey, Grandma Spencer, nice to see ya.
Yeah. Go fuck yourselves, you scruffy paedophiles. If you have seriously have a problem,
Mark, I'm always
you
quiet.
on the front if you want. Does anyone really have serious problems? Don't think you do. You're weak, man. You got a herd mentality.
Aye, cheers. Oh, we haven't been here long. I mean, look at these lunatics over here.
You lucky cunt. Dirty paedophiles. Dirty paedophiles. Let's go Wednesday around. Who are you looking at, you little paedophile?
Alan, pro England. That's what we
Good
want.
start.
Not British,
Mustafa.
England.
Happy Sundays.
Time is it? Anywhere near 2 o'clock yet? No, we've got an hour. Yeah, so that's what it is, guys. This hotel, well, you probably know anywhere. Holiday Inn Express, Rotherham. Full of illegal migrants. They're not refugees in here. There's no refugees in that hotel. They're just illegals. That's it, Peter. English for the English. Fucking damn right. We've had enough of this bullshittery British elite torture. It's on. Hey. All right. Hi. I tried phoning you earlier, and I was like, oh, I didn't have a phone charger in the car, so I got down. My phone was on 10%. I was like, fucking hell. So luckily I got my power bank on.
What is this? So it sees all the people that are staying here.
No, these are the ones supporting the people staying here. These agree with all these rapists and whatnot that are in
I swear down this Antifa getting paid too much money.
here. Until something happens to them lot, then they might be on this side. Until then, they'll just stand out there shouting that we're racists and Nazis. I mean, I brought Dan down with us today. Shouting. John, Emily, Dan. Yeah. Hi.
Got enough heroes, so I need to see us.
One-man protest.
Right, we're not supposed to be like 2 o'clock for this anyway.
One-man protest.
But John.
Has anybody got a line? Where did Axie go?
You've got nothing to say when you're talking about certain points, it's just words and insults.
They can't have a conversation with you. They've got no answers. That's all they do. Aye.
You fucking time with them.
So there's a lot in front around there, isn't there? We drove in, there's a few in front with the flags out.
No, these are.
You know, to get that guy from us with it, you know, the Nazi.
That's it, I'm hoping, right. Hope there's going to be bloody coach votes turning up. It's supposed to be 2 o'clock. No, for us lot, I'm hoping. For our lot, I'm hoping.
Part of the herd that he's better than us.
No, I'm saying like the English Constitution Party is supposed to be here, aren't they?
Are they over there?
Are they? No, I haven't been round. Just having a walk round.
Yeah, I've just shown him where they are. Oh, he doesn't know.
I'll be back, you fucking dirty nut.
Right, who's on me chat? Min, aye, Min. Gypsy audit there, aye. Ah, you're not wrong there, Sharon. He would have, aye.
When's everyone come back down? About an hour?
Aye, 2 o'clock, aye.
Brother.
Aye, nice one with your fucking job and that, like.
I know, I got
Oh,
I lost that other job and then I got better. I sat next, well, not next week, Monday after.
That's just great,
10
isn't
minutes wrong corner,
Ah.
fucking more money, less hours.
You haven't got her up and leave her now. That's it, you're here. Going nowhere.
It was all fucking written in the cards, wasn't it?
That's it, aye. Aye, apparently our lot of kicking about round here. Just gonna have a look and see around here. Jez, we've been down here before. Me, Amanda and Active were down here a year ago. We covered this hotel a year ago.
Yeah.
And that's because a woman got attacked walking her dog down here a year ago.
Why don't we have a look over there and get these from this gate?
So obviously things are just getting worse down here for the locals. We're on the roundabout, man. headed over here, man.
All over here. They're against support here, they need to come back over there.
Hey, Gypsy, order to fire away.
Bye, baby.
We go out. Aye, someone will nick it, won't they? By saying that, the police are there, so no one should be pinching anything. No, he's left his fucking banner, hasn't he? So I'm going to keep trying to pinch off him. Right, Gypsy, order there. You're a moderator, I think. If you come in again, let's see what you... See if you're on there, Gypsy. Yeah, there you go. You've got your spanner, Gypsy.
Do you even know somebody can handle himself? I don't know this guy, yeah, right? I'm telling you now, he can handle himself. I just know. I don't ask me why. I just know. Skype, yeah.
Nice one, cheers, Vin. Landmine. Hey, we've got Lorton here. Look what you're missing, landmine. You're missing a day out. Yo, Stevie. How's it going, Steve? Here he is. Keeping well?
We're trying.
Ah, yes, you're right. Lulu, yes.
Lulu.
That's on your YouTube channel. Lulu something. It sounds like an entertainment name.
Obviously, I think they're the flashpoint.
Have you been around the front of there?
People taking a photo with their faces, it's all going to go on.
Well done,
Say what's happening. I didn't ask if he's just hanging here or.
Staying here then.
Oh, he's going to give his sign. His banner.
The designated area by the police.
The reason why they want us in a designated area, all of the support from the local community. So they're trying to put you out of that. That's not the point of the protest. It's a bit like rebels and roundabouts against the vaccine. The only time people started to know, they started seeing us with the that's what. So this roundabout is perfect from that situation. But yeah, if I start shouting, I can't hear a fucking word.
It's not like Graham to shout, is it?
Huh?
Not like you to shout.
Are you speaking? Are you speaking today? Are they not putting a stage up right now? Stage?
I don't think there is one.
There was at least.
I don't think there could be one here. What we need is like, sorry, mate. What's going on there? You start doing it.
Yeah.
Yo, Shadow Man. Afternoon, Shadow Man. They just chat away to themselves, you know what I mean? I just do my thing, and that's Graham anyway. He's the head of the English Constitution Party. He's the man that's behind that. Oh, yeah. Man, what do you want, like, Graham? What do you want? What do you want?
I just can smell it.
There's plenty of them around the front of the hotel.
I can understand what he means, like by standing on the road, so you're getting all these cars driving past and saying what's it's like.
That's a good thing to do for a little bit of time, but you need to be outside the front as well, because you know that they're gonna use the force from there. I wasn't having any of that from them there. Definitely not. Like you say, they just shout out racist talk.
See, that's the thing about it. When you come, it's like we'll go and talk to them, and then when you try to talk to them, you go, well, why did I bother trying to do that? Why did I bother? Because they're not even going to hold a conversation with you because they've only got a couple of words in the vocabulary. You're a racist. You're a Nazi. Well, what else?
No. Yeah, you're the one who supports Ukraine, pal. I think you're the Nazi, not me.
They're that thick, though. They haven't got a clue what it's about.
They don't even know why they stood there. It's just a group of them all herb mentality scuffs.
Are you live? Just let me say. There's an old van going up there now. Let me give you a prediction. Right? This is a prediction. It's highly likely to go up in flames, and it's got nothing to do with us. It happens to be over 10 years old. It's over there, and they're all going to have some sausages and whatever cooking on it, and then tell the world that it turned violent. Right? We're here, out of the way. Loads of support from the locals driving past. That's the point. They don't want to see her because they don't want people to see it.
Nice one, Daddy Dragon. Nice one. Go over where Active is near the hotel. I'll have a pop back out of the hotel. Oh, he's here, man. He's here. There's me risking my life crossing the road. It's all right, Don. I was only waiting for Active.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming here this evening. I will just run you through the format of the evening. Mr. Robinson will be doing a speech for the first 40 minutes, and then it'll be followed by a Q&A session. So please do get involved and sort of ask questions. Without further ado, Mr. Tommy Robinson.
Hey, first of all, I'd like to say it's a privilege and honour to be standing here today. This is a long way from the streets of Luton Town to now be at the Oxford Union. I think it's a good day for freedom of speech. You've all heard of this. I was getting called a little fascist as I was walking in here. There's protests outside from Unite Against Fascism, who the definition of fascism is trying to stop people have a difference in opinion of you, which is what I have. So I think they're showing themselves up as fascists. I'd like to thank, I know there's probably been a backlash against the union for inviting me here today. It's been a good day for freedom of speech, but also a bad day. I had a speech prepared that I was going to come here and talk about, everything I had prepared to say. I was visited 4 days ago by probation, and I was warned about my licence. I'm on an early release from custody, so I'm on a licence. And certain things that I was going to say would result in me getting recalled back to prison. Now, even though it which I said, obviously, I haven't got the same freedom of speech as what everyone else has got then. And they said, no, not whilst you're on licence. And I was going to expose certain things about the police, but that'll have to hold now. What I want to do is I want to take you all through a journey of my life and talk to you about life stories growing up in Luton. By the end of it, I want you to understand where I come from and who I am. And why. I think why is the major question. Why was the English Defence League a phenomenon? Why was it born in Luton? Why was it started? What are the reasons that brought it there? I'm going to talk to you about Luton. I was born in 1982. When I was born in 1982, we had one mosque. I just want you to understand the demographic of the town. In 2014, we now have 30 mosques. The projected government growth forecast for the Pakistani and Bangladeshi community of Luton by 2030 is to increase by 70 to 77%. This would not be a problem if we didn't experience the problems we see related within the community. At the same time as I talk you through this, I don't want for 1 minute for you to think I'm tarring all Muslims as bad. I'm just giving you a projected view of my life. I want you to understand the stories that have happened. I'll start with my cousin, Jeanette, or my cousin's cousin. She was sexually abused. She was groomed. It's what we now know as grooming. She was raped. She woke up one day. She was found running semi-naked from Bury Park. Bury Park is the area where a lot of the Muslims have congregated and live. It's where these 30 mosques are. She was picked up by prostitutes in the street. Her dad collected her. If I talk about the failures from the police, when the family, I want you to understand and try and picture this as though it's your family relative. When the family were going to the police, when the girl is missing for 2 days, 3 days, yeah, and there is no response, and up until the Rotherham report, people wouldn't believe these stories because they are unbelievable. They would say she's a drug addict because in the end she was a drug addict because she was hooked on heroin that they were giving to her. She would climb out of the bedroom window to get back to them for her fix. The failures everyone now knows from the police force on these issues, but I want to just talk you through. When I was at school, the high school I went to, you had the Muslim playground and you had the non-Muslim playground. That's the same in pretty much every school in Luton. It wasn't divided through racial lines, it's divided through religious lines. We didn't cause that division. My friend at school, I was seeing a girl called Charlotte. She's from a lovely Irish family. And I was 12 years old, and my friend Razwan was seeing her friend Lisa. And I can remember Lisa phoning up Charlotte hysterical because Razwan's family had all gone up to Lisa's house to threaten the family to say that they couldn't see or speak to each other. As a 12-year-old boy, this was a light bulb moment for me to think, what is this about? There was another boy around the corner from where I live called Jamie. He fell in love with an Asian girl at school. He got violently attacked for that. When they went to sixth form, Luton sixth form is the main sixth form in Luton town. I could have gone to sixth form. I got 11 GCSEs. I got an A in maths, 5 Bs, 5 Cs. As a young English lad in the town, to go to that sixth form, I have to be prepared to look at the ground. And I'm not prepared to look at the ground. And that's because there were Pakistani Muslim gangs in that sixth form, extremists in that sixth form. Now, Jamie went to sixth form. His girlfriend went to sixth form, who he's in love with. They couldn't even acknowledge that they knew each other, okay, because of the fear of what would happen. I had another friend, John English, on a night out. I'm just taking you through stories. John English, his girlfriend's name was Akvinder. She was a Sikh, actually, but she was from Letchworth. But we were out on a night out in Luton town, and these Muslim lads just come over and spat straight in her face. So these are instances, and I'm not saying it's all Muslims. I'm just talking, saying there are problems. I've seen them, okay, growing up through Luton, and I'm asking that you all try and envisage yourself, take yourself out of where you've grown up. Many of you may have grown up in working class communities and towns, but try and see it. We're talking about racial abuse. I don't know how many people have been a victim of racial abuse. I was a victim of racial abuse at the age of 12 when I was attacked on the way home from a swimming pool by a Pakistani gang. I was called a white pig. My friend had his hat taken off him, we were spat in our face and slapped. Another incident, twice in one night, walking to the under-18s nightclub. Whilst I'm talking about racial abuse, I'll talk about Mark Sharp. Mark Sharp was murdered in 1995. Any of you can Google this murder, yeah? He was my uncle's friend and his son was my age. He was going to get a takeaway. He was in his car, a van. He was going to get a takeaway when a car braked in front of him. He swerved around it and he gave a hand gesture. He was followed. He didn't know he was being followed. 4 Muslim Pakistanis were in the car. They phoned for reinforcements. More come. He was not aware of this. When he got outside the kebab shop, he come out, his son's with him. They beat him. They hit him so many times. They were hitting him with bats, with poles, with sticks. Read the murder, it will shock you, okay? He was not going down. He would not go down. One of them jumped up in the air with a knife and snapped it off in his forehead. He survived for 3 days, and then he died. Many of his friends, what I'm trying to envisage and ask you is that you just take yourself, think of this. This is someone you know in your family. This has happened to. The judge in court said, you can take, if you wish to a verdict of manslaughter, you can take into account the fact that he aggravated them enough to make a young Asian male act in this way. They got 4 years in prison for that, if you want to talk about justice. That's not justice. They were out within 2 years in the town of Luton Town. Most of the people in Newmarket and his friends left Luton after that incident. I could stand here all day and talk about other incidents that have gone on. I'm going to show you a video now. I'll ask you to watch.
A series of attacks on the homes of elderly people in Luton are racially motivated. The victims fear the aim is to force them to sit up and move out.
This is the latest attack, a beer keg thrown through the window of a 74-year-old great-grandmother in the middle of the night. It's the third time it's happened. The last was on Christmas Eve.
You can imagine Christmas Eve and somebody throwing a brick through your window, how it felt. When everything's supposed to be jolly and happy, you feel down, innit? And they are throwing brick through my window and run. They are cowards.
In the next street, another couple who've been targeted repeatedly.
At night time, I personally can't sleep, and you don't know what next they will do. You wonder sometimes if they're going to put petrol or boom or something through the letterbox.
And around the corner, this house. It looks unlived in. In fact, it's been home to one couple for 60 years, now so terrorised they won't take down the boards.
Because it always happened between about 1 and 4 o'clock in the morning. And you were really worried, sick, wondering what was going to happen next. Because they weren't just little bits of stones or things. These were real house bricks.
Bastards.
And lumps of concrete that they'd thrown through the window.
Bastards.
Meanwhile, families are doing what they can to protect themselves.
I am one of the old type, determined black woman. I am not going nowhere. If they don't like me here, they can go. I'm quite happy where I am.
Scared, but most of all angry, they're not moving.
Now, again, maybe take it to the community you live in. You know these people, because I know the Palmers and I know the Howards. Yeah, you can imagine eruptions these sort of incidents cause in your community. There was actually 30 people's houses that were attacked at these times. There was 88 attacks before the police acted. The way we see, what we're seeing in the Rotherham report is it shows the police inability, conspiracy with the police and different organisations, social services, where they downplayed it and suppressed it because they didn't want to be deemed as racist, yeah? So crimes went up, they facilitated the rape of a generation of kids for 20 years due to not wanting to be called racist. Similar things, when the police haven't acted, they haven't acted in towns and cities and communities like Luton for incidences like this. That's what, again, what you understand is, I know those families. I remember these times when these things were happening. And if you watch the actual video, the Howards, it was Muslims that offered them support. It was Muslims that offered them help. I'm not painting a picture. All Muslims want them to move out of that community. I'm just want you to understand there are problems in these communities. There's problems that need addressing, they need talking about, okay? Now, I want you to ask yourselves as well, do you think it's got better or worse? That was years ago. Seriously, do you think it's got better or worse? It hasn't got better, okay? I'm now going to show you a video from 6 months ago. Yeah, just talk me through. Tell me the story.
Okay, well, about 5 years ago, I got rid of my car. And I became more prominent in the streets of Newham. And I started noticing people get out of things as they would pass me, or people were spitting very close to me in the streets. And after about a few months, I realized actually they're spitting at me. And I faced quite a lot of anger. I faced quite a lot of just aggression from various younger Muslims in the community, simply because I was a Jew, or rather a conspicuous Jew in the college. And One time I was cornered in the college. I was shoved into the corner and I was made to justify the existence of Israel. Well, I've got post-traumatic stress disorder and I experience a lot of panic attacks.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah.
You've been living under a barrage of abuse and threats and intimidation for years.
Yes, 5 years now. And, you know, it's been coming up for 300 incidents, attacks on me and my home. And it probably wouldn't be so bad if I knew that, you know, maybe the authorities would have my back, but unfortunately they don't. I do think every morning, you know, I'm still here and I go to bed at night. I live today, you know.
I've seen the image of your property. It's like Fort Knox now.
Yeah, I mean, my friends that, I had to stop my friends coming to the house because I couldn't guarantee their safety. So I never have friends at the house. I always meet my friends outside. I can't have family to live with me because it's too dangerous. I live in...
See, this is 2014 in the Borough of London. 2014, do you know what it's like to see a grown man brought to tears? Do you know how many families I meet that are brought to tears in Luton and towns like that? The reason why I'm showing you these videos, I want you to understand this is real life. This is not made up. When we're talking about issues and the reason why we're passionate about these issues, we're not making it up. And at the same time, he's the first to say the vast majority of Muslims are not involved in this in any way. But there is a problem. The reason why I met him, I've been talking to him for 5 years. A lot of people then with the English Defence League, they don't go to the police anymore in towns like Luton. They contacted us to talk about the issues, talk about what's happening with their families, how they're feeling persecuted, etc. I went to meet him because he's moving to Israel, because he feels he has to move to Israel if he wants to be safe. His only crime is that he's Jewish and he's living within a Muslim ghetto. And now as we're talking through, we all remember September 11th. I think everyone should remember where they were on September 11th. I was at Luton Airport on my apprenticeship. I remember everything. And then I remember getting a phone call again about Luton sixth form from a friend who was at the sixth form. That's the age I was at. I was probably 18, going back to then, saying that Muslims were cheering and celebrating. A lot of these things may sound unbelievable. Yeah? When I then went to my local shops in my estate, I see Magnificent 19 posters across the estate, yeah, glorifying these people. On the first anniversary, we saw in my hometown of Luton. Imagine this is your town where you live. You've got posters glorifying terrorism. You've got billboards. As you walk up your street, the billboards are now painted over. Anything showing a woman's flesh is covered up. This is all to fit in with Sharia. And it's from certain sections, a minority, but a dangerous minority within the town. I want to take you through and I want you to try and understand, as me growing up, the changes I'm seeing, they're not for the good, okay? They're not for freedom. So this will just show some posters.
I was working for a second-hand car salesman, selling second-hand cars, valeting them and selling them, watching it on his fucking old PC. Madness.
That's the covering up on billboards, the Magnificent 19 posters on a phone box. At this same time, at Icknield High School, many of you may remember the girl who wore the full face veil in the cab to school. Sherry Blair represented her. Yeah? When she left there, but she got kicked out of that school for doing that, she went to the school I used to go to, Putridge. But her brother was part of Al Mujahideen, an extremist organisation. They used to protest outside the school all the time, this Icknield High School. They then had, at the same time, every year, they're outside the school handing out leaflets saying Christmas is a sin. Children are just trying to go to school, trying to paint a picture that things are going on across the town at this time.
Morning, love.
Now, what I'll show you now, this is a newspaper article. If you want to take one of them and pass them around, people can read them themselves. This, I feel, is very important. I think it's very important to show you where we were at in a town. This newspaper article is from September 2004. You're going back 10 years, okay? I was 21 years old. Anti-terror rally.
I think everybody could tell you where they were in 9/11. Everybody, like, who lived that particular time, like, even if you was a kid, like.
I organised this rally when I was 21 years old. I made these leaflets, okay? This will show you that the English Defence League may have been born in 2009. There's a reason. There's a history behind it. When the Beslan massacre, remember the Beslan massacre? The school children were lined up and murdered by Chechen terrorists. They killed loads of kids in front of their parents. I remember watching that. And then I remember watching an interview of a Muslim from Luton. His name's Saif al-Islam. It means sword of Islam. He was a part of this organisation called Al-Mujahideen. And he said what happened at that school was justified. And it's justified if it happens in a school in England. That is when I started reading, learning, and looking into who this group were, Al-Mujahideen. I doubt many people in 2004 had heard of them. Remember, this is before 7/7. This is before terrorist atrocities on our shores. I found that Omar Bakri and Abu Hamza, we all know who they are now. They were based in my town, in Luton. They were based there. Their head office was on Biscuit Road. I started looking, researching. What I found terrified me. And once my eyes were open, I couldn't close them to this issue. I made these leaflets. In these leaflets, it's clear. Leaflets circulating in Luton before the demonstration, which started at 1 p.m, described it as a peaceful protest to stop terrorist recruiting in the town. Headlined Luton Taliban, no thanks. It said Luton residents demand the police and council act now. Close down Al-Mujahideen's head office in Biscuit Road. Stop Islamic extremists recruiting in the town centre on Saturdays. Clamp down on racist attacks on white and black lads by Muslim gangs. The leaflet claimed Islamic extremism is running out of control in Luton. Muslim fanatics celebrated September 11th outside the Galaxy Centre. Al-Mujahideen supporters of global terrorism are based on Biscuit Road. Luton's Muslims are attending Afghan terror training camps. Magnificent 19 posters glorifying suicide murderers. Churches are being firebombed. Beatings and stabbings of young whites are going on all the time. The demo literature also claimed that members of a Muslim gang, the Gambinos, are more interested in making money from drug pushing and pimping, but they are becoming increasingly close to religious extremists. This was in 2004. If you want to research and go on Google, you will find a national newspaper run an article called Chemical Jihad, which they actually named that same gang 5 years later, saying that they are...
Yeah, 9/11 was just like jaw-dropping to watch. It was just like a movie. It's like, this is not really happening type of thing, like, you know what I mean? And then you're watching another plane fly into the other tower, and it's like, whoa, fuck, you know, this is insane. Like, yeah, I remember everything. Even the conversation I was having with my boss. Watching it on his old PC, like his little poxy old PC. Yeah, well, I remember like yesterday. Pick a mix.
Linked with Al-Qaeda. They are using heroin as a jihad against non-Muslims. What I want you to read by that and understand by that, Al-Mujahideen are ISIS. That is ISIS. That same mindset that is terrifying the world now. The Home Secretary said 4 days ago, ISIS is the biggest threat to this country in our history. Okay? That is the same threat. I may not have said it in a posh voice.
Why I'm playing this, guys, is for a simple reason is this is nearly 10 years ago. And all the warnings, if you listen to this, is what he's saying carefully. He's basically warning us what's coming 10 years ago. I'm not saying he's like a fucking Nostradamus or something like, but he knew. He knew. Listen to this speech carefully, and you'll see what I mean.
I may have said it in a different way. We understood who these people were, what their thoughts were, and how dangerous this ideology was. You have to remember that this was before 7/7. 7/7, the terrorists collected their bombs in Luton. I want to bring it home to you again. This is your town. They collected them from a suspected Al-Qaeda operative called Q, who works in a chicken shop in our town centre. He was also the main mind behind the fertiliser bomb plot. I want you to realise that we share a space in Luton. Okay? If we have terrorists, they're not from millions of miles away. We have to live with them. The Stockholm bomber came to Luton from Sweden as an innocent Muslim. He was targeted at Luton University by this group who we have been warning about now for 10 years. He was targeted, he was radicalised, and he set off and blew himself up. He lived 3 doors from my auntie. That group of extremists that I'm talking about were on Luton University in Freshers Week. You're at university, many of you. First time away from home. When people are vulnerable, they're weak. You have organisations playing on them to manipulate their mind, change their whole direction in their life, and turn them into killers. In this leaflet, I say the council and the police are doing nothing. That was your warning in 2004. If we want to talk about what's happened in between that, many things have happened in between that. We had a soldiers' homecoming. Our soldiers' homecoming parade, which most people see as the catalyst for the EDL. What I want you to realise is there's a lot that's gone on before this that forms your view and forms your narrative and makes you realise how deep this problem is in your hometown, the town that you love. And that, I want you to remember that I'm telling you stories as Tommy Robinson or Stephen Lennon. For every Tommy Robinson or Stephen Lennon, there's one of me. There's people in every town and city across this country who are feeling and seeing these things. So we have a soldiers' homecoming. Scott Muntridge died. He's from the estate I lived in when I was younger. I was 26 years old. Michael Swain was 19. He lost his legs. Now, our soldiers are returning. I've gone to pay my respects that day because they've sacrificed that for us. As residents of Luton, they've gone there to fight for us, for our freedoms. I've gone there that day, and the first thing I've seen is a large police presence. I've then seen Saif al-Islam. I've seen groups of Muslim extremists around the town. I've seen 30...
And I know it's a mad thing to say, but I always remember from that was the people hanging out of the buildings, and the only choice they had was to either die with the smoke and the flames or jump. And that just fried my head at it at the time. That fried my head at it. Yeah. And then they were saying, oh, the buildings were they were designed to burn for ages, weeks maybe. And they just collapsed within a couple of hours. Like, it was unreal. Yeah, them jumpers. I always remember them jumpers. The one jumper, and he was sat on the ledge, and he was obviously he was making the choice. Which way am I going to go? Like, and like, when you think of it like deep, that's insane. Like, that's insane. That's like, yeah.
30 women together in burqas. It's quite a sight. But all of these things, I thought, what's going on? And then I saw this group of protesters, a group of Muslims, taken through my town hall. They were taken through my town hall, and then the soldiers marched past. They were called baby killers, murderers, rapists, butchers of Basras. They spat in the lad's face, one of the soldiers' mum's faces, okay? Now, it wasn't this group done this, because bearing in mind, we know this group. I've looked into this group. I understand their hate. I understand where it's coming from. One of them, that group, the main ginger one, big ginger one with a big beard, he's a convert called Roger. Now calls himself Ibrahim. I used to hang around with him when I was younger.
Roger.
One of the other lads in the group, 2 years above me at school. This is not a million miles away from us. We get it. Yeah? It was the fact that they were allowed to do it. The police facilitated them in doing it. The council knew they were going to do it. They leafleted every mosque in the town, telling them they were going to do it.
Yeah, Alice, some of the conversations that the plane passengers had, blokes with their wives, that was sad. Like, that was pretty sad. It was just fucked up situation, man. It was proper fucked up situation. I mean, but like, I have always said, if I was on one of them planes, when them terrorists were there and they were like branding a knife, standing there, telling you to sit down in your seat, put your seatbelt on, and basically shut up and don't say a word. You can't say what you're going to be like until you got to be there, innit? But there's no way, knowing me, right? There's no way I'm going to sit in that seat. I'm going to fucking charge at that terrorist with a, you know what I mean? Whether I die or not, because you're going to die anyway, innit? They told you you're going to die. There's no way I'm going to sit in my seat. And they can't, the thing is, well, look at it, if they stab me, then they're going to stab somebody else come behind me. They're going to stab me. And I think the one plane did fight back. One plane did fight back. And it was some sort of rescue, like, but yeah, I wouldn't have just sat in my seat and put my seatbelt on and phoned up my missus, spoke to my family, you know what I mean, and said, like, I got to say ta-ra now, like, I'm going to say, I'm going to put this phone down, and this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm going to do. I'd rather die trying than that, innit? Come on. God, definitely. Like, you can't say until you're in this situation, it's a bit of a fucking situation to be in. But knowing me, I'm not just going to sit there. It's not going to roll like that. I'd rather die trying. I'd rather get stabbed in the face trying to do something rather than just sit there and wait for my death. Like, nobody decides, nobody says, like, okay, you're going to die in so many minutes when we go into this tower. Yeah, we don't want to laugh. Not on my watch. I can see what I can do about it. You know what I mean? See what we can do. See what we can do. Stab me, but you can't stab us all. Yeah.
Intelligence showed that 360 Muslims were arrested attempting to come into Luton that morning. 360. 70% of their births were in countries outside of the UK. What we saw was an attack on our armed forces. And I want to ask you, what would you have done? That's your town, okay? What would you have done at that time?
Kick right off.
I contacted the council.
Kick right off.
I set up a website called Save Luton. I documented that all the continuing things that this group have done in our town. I explained that when Jews were remembering the Holocaust outside our town hall, they had to barricade themselves and lock themselves inside the town hall because this group of large Muslim fanaticals were trying to attack them. In this video, there's a 5-year-old girl who's screaming and crying. They attack the multi-faith march every year. Now, in Luton and towns like Luton, when two kids continually cause a disturbance or a nuisance, you get an ASBO. Yeah? You ASBO them from hanging around together, and you ASBO them from an area of the shops. Okay? What we did is we set up a petition asking for this group to be ASBO'd. Quite reasonable. That's what you should do. That's what we did. 5 years later, you now see they're talking about ASBOing terrorists. Exactly what we were asking them to do before any protests, before we took to any streets.
Go on, laddie, bye.
Now, we know the police suppress what's going on in a town. We know the Labour councillors, you've seen it with Rotherham, are hiding the facts. We know what's happening in our own town. As I've said, we've foreseen ISIS. We've foreseen all these issues that are going on because we're living it. We're living amongst it. We're breathing it. It's where we live. And we decided then, every community in Luton is allowed to celebrate their identity and their culture. We have St. Lucian Day. When it's Paddy's Day, my mum was a Paddy, but when it's Paddy's Day, they have a 3-day festival. We have, when it's Eid, if you want to see any Muslims, come to Luton for Eid, because you will have fairgrounds, you will have the biggest celebrations, everything. St. George's Day, our day, okay? And I'm just trying to talk to you about how we feel in the town. So it comes to St. George's Day, Icknield School, the same school that the girl tried to wear the niqab to, sends a letter out to all the parents. If anyone brings in the emblem of St. George on St. George's Day, you will be suspended and sent home. The same school, when Pakistan won the cricket, encouraged everyone to celebrate with Pakistani flags. The message this sends to our kids is they should be ashamed of being English. They should be ashamed of their identity and who they are. Now, this happened 3 weeks after, and then the headline in our newspaper, St. George's Day parade banned. We were supposed to have a parade for the first year, banned. It was at that point that we said, which again, I'll ask you, what would you have done? Okay? What would you have done? Every time your town's name is dragged through the media and the press, it's linked to fanatical jihad terrorism all the time. This is our town. It's where we love. We want to feel safe. This group, when you read what they stand for the destruction of this. They stand for the destruction of my family, your family. All of our families now dedicated every day. And I'll try and change it for you to people to understand. 75% of Luton is non-Muslim, okay? Let's reverse the roles. Let's make 75% of the town Muslim, 25% of the town white. And in this complete white non-Muslim community, you have got hundreds of the world's most feared Nazis. And they have got pace tables set up. And they are promoting hatred against everyone that is not white, okay? Do you think that they are a small group that's going to be ignored? Because that's all we hear. No one listens to this group. Ignore them, ignore them. In fact, 60% of the people in terrorism are ex-members of Al-Mujahideen. People do not ignore them. They're dangerous. Now, sooner or later, you would see the hate coming out of that little area and coming into your community. You'd witness it. That's what we're witnessed. We have witnessed it. We see the hate. So all this time, I set up an organisation called the United People of Luton. Now, when I'd done this, I named the gangs. I named the heroin. I named their shops. I was 21 years old. Some people would say quite naive. I was a 21-year-old lad with an attitude about what I saw, and I didn't want to back down to it. I don't know how many of you have been laying in bed at 3 o'clock in the morning and heard the sound of smashing glass. It's not nice when bricks come through your window. In response to that, I was the target of all the major Pakistani Muslim gangs in my town. I was living at my mother's house, okay? So when this happens, Soldiers' Homecoming, many of you ask why, or people try and belittle me for using a different name, covering my face. I know what's coming. I know what's coming for standing up against these radicals. It's not the radicals that were targeting me, it's the Pakistani street gangs that were targeting me. If you read the 2009 newspaper, you'll realise why. Because the trade between the street gangs and the fanaticals, the terrorists and the extremists is combined, the sale of heroin. Now, we set up a group called UPL. Maybe, what would you have done? Again, what would you have done? Bearing in mind the National Front and groups like this, after the Soldiers' Homecoming, wanted to attach themselves to our town. Would you have made placards that read National Front go to hell? Because that's what we done. Voters demand a St George's Day parade. I want you to understand what this was over. What it was all over. This was the start. When we met up this day for this demonstration, it was the community. My aunties were there. We were met by a police presence, a heavy-handed police presence. A horse flattened my uncle. My other friend, Isaac, little black lad, holding one of these placards, reading National Front go to hell. A police officer on a horse knocked his teeth out, okay? He lost his teeth. We wanted to get to the war memorial, that's it. We were prevented from the police from getting to the war memorial. We were held and kettled for 4 hours. My auntie had to crouch, and we in the street. Now, I was there the day that Muslim extremists protested against our soldiers. When we turned up, we were made to line up against the wall. We had cameras in our faces. They put their hands in our pockets. They made us take our shoes off. Names, date of births, addresses. We felt violated by our own police force. Violated in a response where when Muslim fanatics were protesting against our soldiers, you didn't stop them. I was there. You didn't search them. You didn't harass them. You didn't harass their women. But you have us. So this now become about what we saw as oppression. We saw a two-tier policing system which we live under. Where there is an Islamic community, it's maybe not the fault of the Islamic community, but where there is an Islamic community, the police tiptoe around certain issues. We've seen it, you've read it with the Rotherham report. In that Rotherham report, you will read incidences where two fathers went to get their daughters back because their daughters were in a house being raped by Muslim men. When they went to get their daughters back, the police arrested the fathers. There was 5 Muslim men sexually abusing an 11-year-old child in a derelict house. The police turned up and arrested the child for being drunk and disorderly. These sort of stories could sound unbelievable, but they're real. And you need to understand that these stories are happening across the board in towns and cities. You need a report for Rotherham, get a report for every town and city in the country, because it's going on. So we had our UPL protest. Bearing in mind, we've been asking for petitions to have this group ASBO'd. What did the police do? After our first UPL protest, the police come to 14 of our houses. My mum's was one of them. I wasn't there. The other 13 people who were arrested were given bail conditions not to enter the town centre 7 days a week, 24 hours a day for 3 months. So we wanted these extremist radicals banned from our town. And why would we want them banned from our town? Because our mums, our sisters, our daughters, our families have to use that town centre. And when you use that town centre, this group every single Saturday have pace tables set up by Don Miller's Bakery, and that part of town's become a no-go zone because people don't want to get harassed by these lunatics. So we've had our first demonstration. They've given us bail conditions. That's when people who have seen our second demonstration, people are wearing balaclavas. I bought those balaclavas, and I'll explain why. I gave everyone the balaclavas because the 14 people who have been given bail conditions not to enter the town centre, all we wanted to do was walk through our own town, get to our war memorial, and show that the people of Luton support our armed forces. That's all we wanted to do. If the police would not have prevented us on the first demonstration, we wouldn't have had the second one, it wouldn't have progressed, and you wouldn't have seen the English Defence League. That's the reality of it. But the reality is, something like the English Defence League was always going to happen because there's these feelings, it's been suppressed, these things, this anger. So we're looking at this group, Al Mujahideen, who have protested against our soldiers. I know their history. I then look and see that they're doing an Islamic roadshow across Britain. They're visiting every town and city. I think this by now, at what stage do you draw a line? At what stage do you do something? They attack your soldiers. What's next? A soldier's funeral. We've seen the progression. Attack your soldiers, set fire to poppies, cut your heads off. We've all seen what's happened. So in Luton, I ask you, what would you have done? When this is going on in your town and the police are not doing anything, no one's stopping this group, they're radicalising, they're converting, their numbers are growing every year. At what stage do you say enough is enough? We have to highlight and tackle this group. I'm now going to show you why the UPL become the EDL.
A young man here who wants to become a Muslim. He's only 11 years old. What's your name, man? Sean. So Sean.
King of Scotland, right there.
Many of the people in that video are now fighting for ISIS abroad.
Fucking hell.
What they're doing there is they're outside Birmingham Bullring shopping centre. They're stopping an 11-year-old boy who's without his parents under a banner that says Jesus was a Muslim, and they've converted him, as you've all seen. Is there anyone in this room that thinks that's acceptable? That is not acceptable. Could you imagine the reverse if hundreds of radical Christians converted an 11-year-old Muslim child walking through the city centre without his parents? There would be uproar. So I watched this group do this, and I waited. And I thought, let's see what politicians, police, someone's got to do something. Nothing happened. Then, as a group of lads from Luton Town, we decided to leave Luton and go to the Bullring in Birmingham with placards that read, "What about Sean's rights?" Sean was 11 years old. We had placards that read, "Muslim, no problem. Extremist Muslim, big problem." We had one demonstration, no press reports, no media. We put it online. We decided to go back because we still felt people need to talk about this. This Islamic Roadshow had more dates going around the country. This has to be stopped. When we went back, subsequently, you can all research this as well. We were locked in a pub for 4 hours. When we come out, they put us on coaches to get us out of the city centre. We didn't know why. As they drove us out, I saw debris everywhere. Bricks, bottles, everything had been smashed up. Muslim youth, Pakistani Muslim youth, had been rioting for hours. Little did we know that Salma Yaqub, politician, had riled a crowd with a clenched fist where she said, "We must smash the BNP, we must smash the BNP." Muslims then run through the streets, attacking non-Muslims. It later turned out that the local imam had told the Muslim youth to come out and confront us. We was only against Anjem Chowdhury's group at this stage, okay? Who was coming out to attack us? Mainstream politicians. When we went to Birmingham, there were Nazis that turned up. There were Dr. Martins, and to us from Luton, anyone know Luton is a multicultural town, a very multicultural town. You won't find a Nazi in Luton, you can't find one. We've never had racial tensions, we have religious tensions. So for me, we've gone up there to highlight this issue, come under attack from everywhere. I'd ask, what would you do in response to Nazis turning up on the streets with you?
A message to Anjem Chowdhury. We, the English Defence League, we will contest your conduct as our forefathers did.
At this stage, not really much of a mention of Islam, because we're opposing Anjem Chowdhury and his group. That's it. That's our tactics. Now we have Nazis on the streets. We need to let them know they're not welcome. On the first Birmingham demo, 5 Nazis were got put on the coach with us. One of them gave a Hitler salute as he got on. It kicked off when he got to the top of that coach with Luton's lads, yeah? So you have to realise, which I'll show you a video in a minute, where all his friends are talking about this fight that incurred, yeah? And it's a fight that incurred because we don't tolerate that. We would not tolerate that extremism coming from our community, but we see it tolerated in many communities. Now, when we set fire to a swastika, not many other groups have done that. Not many other groups have really put it on Nazis. When this happened, I had a phone call from a man called Nazi Nick, a German. You can all Google him, yeah? I had a phone call and I was told to hand over the control of the English Defence League, hand over the websites, hand over this. I didn't know who he was. I told him in no uncertain terms that it was not going to happen. We had an argument on the phone. I had highlighted myself to some of the world's most feared Nazis. I didn't know who this man was. Only later, my friends, when I was telling him about this Nazi Nick, some fella from Germany, he said, "Do you know who he is?" I said, "No." He said, "He tried to overthrow the South African government." That's why I thought, damn, I just put it on him. And from that, you can see this. I don't know if you want to read that. It says, English Defence League, since the formation of your organisation, your alliance with external enemies, the Zionists, you have blinded the disgruntled youth to today with your bastardised concept of nationalism. Our concept of nationalism was anyone is welcome to it. White, black, anyone, Muslim, Christian. If you're proud to be English, you're proud of the laws in this country, you're proud of our freedoms, you are welcome. You have attacked lone white nationalists. They wasn't on their own, but this is on about Birmingham. See, the press would not tell you that when there's trouble at the demonstrations in the early days, it's us outrooting the extremists. You have burned our swastika from the EDL and the 10. Anyway, I'll carry it on in a minute. You'll see. It's quite awkward viewing, but.
EDL's come into operation. They was giving it on the streets. EDL. That's what we fucking think of them. They're fucking shit. They're fucking scum. That's what we think of the EDL.
So, could you imagine, as I walked in this building, all I've been called is a Nazi. Okay? We've softened what Nazi means. We've softened what a fascist means. We've started calling anybody who is critical of Islam in any way gets called a Nazi or a racist or a fascist. It is so frustrating. I'm lucky I'm from Luton Town because everyone in my town knows me prior to the English Defence League. They know there's not a racist bone in my body or an extremist bone in my body. We are witnessing. I'll ask you, I'm witnessing my town. It's from a young lad, from a young age. I'm witnessing changes. I'm witnessing things I don't like to see. I'm now going to show you one more video. I'm sorry about showing the videos. I want everyone to have a perspective on where I'm coming from, why this happened, yeah? Why it spread the way it did, why it was a phenomenon, which it was. It spread across Europe. People were too scared.
10 years down the line now, we all know exactly what he's talking about, don't we? Huh? We all know exactly what he's talking about. Working class, as fucking peasants. We've seen it with our own eyes. We've heard it. We've seen it, experienced it. We're living it, aren't we? We're living it. We're in the thick of it.
Scared to talk about this issue. Okay, there's not much that's good that's come from this for my family or for myself, but this had to happen. Certain things had to be said. I'll show you this video now. This is a 4-minute video. It's quite shocking, the viewing though.
Streets close to East London Mosque, the police closed in. But it was a scuffle with two men that brought things to a head. One in a blue shirt, the other in a red jacket, told them they weren't wanted in the area. As a police officer filmed proceedings, Kevin Carroll claimed he was punched and then he appeared to retaliate. Tommy Robinson looked on from the sidelines.
Tommy Robinson bottled it. But I'll ask you to view that yourselves. Go on YouTube, put in Tommy Robinson Charity Walk. What that just showed you is nothing like what happened. And Channel 4 News had the full footage of that incident. So why, when they pause it and freeze it on Kevin Carroll looking the aggressive, violent one, I'm saying you need to look beyond the headline. Most of you may judge me on headlines. None of you obviously know me. I get judged a lot on headlines. I'll show you another headline. On Armistice Day, Remembrance Sunday.
British troops burning hell! 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 British troops murder us! British troops murder us!
Clearly, they were not searched before that demonstration in the same way that we are. Clearly, because they had canisters of lighter fluid. Some of the country's most radical Islamist terrorists, sympathisers and supporters, on Armistice Day, around the corner from a remembrance service, doing this. Okay? I was there that day, and I went up to a police officer and said, how is this being allowed? You should have seen the public's face and reaction to what's going on there. British soldiers burn in hell, British soldiers burn in hell. The BBC, you want to talk about propaganda? The BBC did not report this. One BBC news station reported this. I was arrested at this demonstration. I'll show you what I was arrested for. I was arrested for assaulting a police officer. And you'll watch the video, which the police did not know I had a video of. You can see the video here.
Substantial police presence was needed at a protest in Kensington. A group calling itself Muslims Against Crusades was faced with a counter-demonstration by the English Defence League. A police officer needed hospital treatment for a head injury, though it wasn't serious. The police later gave the Muslim protesters an escort to a local tube station.
The black flag that I grabbed, we all now know to be symbolic of ISIS. At that time, it's the black flag of jihad. It's what these radicals, if you see anyone get their head cut off, it's behind that black flag. So I jumped over a fence. I saw a crime that was being committed on our streets, burning of poppies. Police were allowing it again. So I made a decision to try and prevent them. I was arrested for assaulting a police officer. When I get out, guess what headline went across the BBC? Not just in Bedfordshire, it went Hertfordshire, Buckinghamshire, Oxfordshire. It went everywhere. EDL leader arrested for assaulting police officer. Okay? That's the propaganda. When I was taken to court for that, I was given, when I produced that video, if I didn't have that footage, you'd all be talking about another, you'd all know of another conviction I'd have. And it would be for assaulting a police officer. Because that's what the officer said I'd done. I attacked him. You saw I didn't, yeah? So that's what most people, you judge on headlines. I'm asking that you look beyond the headline. There's usually a different story to what's gone on a lot of the time. I was subsequently taken to court for that. When I produced the video, charges were dropped. They come back to my house 8 weeks later and rearrested me again. I got charged with causing those Muslim men, I caused them alarm and distress. I intended to cause them alarm and distress. They were causing our entire nation alarm and distress, and they were being allowed to do so. I received a fine 7 times worse than the fine given out to them for burning our poppies. I don't want to take up too much. I could continue all day showing you unfair treatment, which you have to understand when you're talking about tensions or community cohesion, all these sort of issues. If you want to talk about community cohesion, you've got 1,400 girls in Rotherham that have been sexually abused and raped. They've all got 2 or 3, 4 family members. In that small town, you've got 10,000 people that are affected by that. Same in Luton.
You were talking about it 10 years ago, and now it's only in the news now. Think about that. 1,400 girls, Rotherham. He was telling them then. Nobody listened. Now they are.
So I know countless girls that has happened to.
Unreal.
Countless girls. And the 2-tier policing system, for example, when they take me to court for those sort of things, and all the people who are following me or sympathetic to what I'm saying, when they're watching all these things play out, when there is such a blatant 2-tier system, let me show you this video. Try not to cheer anyone, yeah? What have I got to talk to you about? What have I got to talk to you about? What have I got to talk to you about?
What to say about Islam and that, innit?
Yeah,
yeah. So why didn't you say it now?
What do you want me to say?
Yeah.
It's ideology. It's got no place.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's got no place, bruv.
And what you
So
got?
vote what you like, bruv. You have
Wait,
about 100 you in a minute. You fucking little chief. You fucking chief. Prick. You see? That is Islam. I don't know why I called him a chief, but he was not arrested for that. That went out on Channel 4, national TV. You tell me why he wasn't arrested. I'd have been arrested. We all know I'd have been arrested. I'll get arrested if I drop a bit of litter as we walk out that door. He was not arrested for attacking me. I could tell you countless other times like this. My cousin, they followed to my family's home. I got a phone call saying that all of this group are outside my family's home. I've rushed up to the home. I've jumped out of my car. Police have turned up. I was arrested. My uncle was arrested. My cousin was arrested. 20 Muslims outside our house. Yeah? After 36 hours, because they got an extension, when I got to interview, what did you find? Because I thought they're all going to have weapons in their cars. So what did you find? I could tell straight away by the police officer's face. They didn't even search him. So there is a 2-tier system. Many of you may not believe. I could show you countless different things. I'm going to show you now that video first, which I thought I was on. It's a 4-minute video. This is a young girl. Many of you may know Stacey Dooley, pretty ginger girl. She has her own program. She's from Luton Town. I grew up with Stacey. So when Stacey come back, she's obviously come back to experience what's gone on. She left Luton 8-9 years ago. She's done quite well for herself.
I'm Stacey Dooley, and this is Luton, where I was born. I went to school here. I even worked at the airport, and then I moved away. But now I'm coming home to find out if it's true that Muslim extremists are taking over my town. It didn't take long to witness firsthand the extremism I've been hearing about.
British police go to hell! British police go to hell!
I wasn't sure what they were marching for, but tensions were running high.
Your sister mother! Your mother! Where is the case? How dare they take our woman?
It turns out the demo was in response to the arrest of local woman Mona Thorney, whose husband set off a bomb in Stockholm in 2010. I cannot believe this. I've never seen anything on this scale before. And it breaks my heart to think that this is in my town. Hands off Muslims! Hands off Muslims! Hands off Muslims! Everyone's got a right to protest, but I found their chanting provocative and extreme.
British police go to hell! British police go to hell!
This is a message to stop oppression.
Police burning hell. British police burning hell.
Yeah, because
no real Muslim wants anyone to burn in hell.
Yeah, but what they've done,
you can't pick and choose. You can't pick and choose. You can't.
You either believe or you disbelieve.
You know what?
You choose to wear this, I choose to wear that.
You and I will have
to look naked on the street.
Do I look naked? Do I really? I don't look naked.
You're trying to seduce.
No one's trying to seduce me, and I'm not trying to seduce anyone. You shouldn't judge me how I try not to judge you. You are. You've just said who am I trying to seduce? No one. Well, I don't judge you because I'm above that. Excuse me, go past the code. How you choose to live low, how you choose to dress like that, I choose to dress like this. You don't start.
It's okay.
Don't you dare speak to me like that. No, but this is my hometown as well.
All right, stay again.
No, I'm walking. I am walking. No, I can do what I want.
Okay.
That girl's just. I don't mind. Point away. Point away. Because you're not scaring me. I try my hardest to sympathise with people who are maybe different to me. And it's a tiny minority that play up. Who are you trying to seduce? Go and put some clothes on. You look naked. Oh. Such a shame. Do you think it's fair that you should say British police need to burn in hell?
That's a freedom of speech. They wish to say, they can say it.
In Islam, doesn't it say that you have to respect the law of the land that you're living in? Oh my God, it
I like Stacey Dooley. She's all right. I've watched a couple of her documentaries. She's good too. But tell her to put some clothes on. Fucking, I think that's a nice red dress she's wearing there, to be fair. What the fuck, like? The fuck would want to look like a black ninja anyway. I mean, dressed up like a fucking ninja in the sunshine. Sick in his own fucking right.
Solution, you know, if Muslim people are in the wrong and they are committing crimes, you know, no one's above the law.
If the law of the land is Islamic, we respect the law of the land.
What if it's not Islamic?
If it's not Islamic, then the law of the land and those who make it can go to hell, quite honestly, because Allah said in the Quran, in chapter 33, verse 1, he said, O Prophet, fear Allah and do not obey the disbelievers and the hypocrites. Is David Cameron a Muslim or a disbeliever? Guys,
I can't speak on camera.
So you can't obey him. So he can go to hell, as well as all of the other leaders.
Let me tell
you something. You're on your way to the hellfire because you're a non-Muslim.
I generally didn't know that, Alice. I'd forgotten to get myself a fucking black belt and some ninja dabs.
All non-Muslims are destined for the hellfire.
So I can whip up.
Yes, and you will be fueled for the hellfire as well. But the fact is that you have an opportunity to change.
That hurts me to think that you think that of me because you don't really know me and you think I'm destined to hell because I'm not Muslim.
You said you're not a Muslim, so that's enough for me to know that you're not Muslim.
Maybe it's an English thing.
If you're not Muslim, you're destined for the hellfire unless you change.
I find it sad that anyone would preach such a damning message. To sum up in words, even to tell you how I'm feeling right now, I feel
Gutted.
completely gutted. Gutted that this is happening.
Gutted.
Gutted so much that she brought to tears again. I'm not trying to portray all the Muslims in Luton are like this. I'm trying to show you there's a problem, okay? There's a problem where we live. She says this is my town as well. It is her town, okay?
Was.
We should not be seeing that.
Was.
How much of that should we tolerate? When people come out and protest against that, far right, racist, thugs. There's an issue. Many issues. You saw the madrasas, undercover madrasas, where we see children being things beaten into them. My friend Sully is a Muslim. Mum's black Kenyan, his dad's Christian. That's very rare. I spoke to someone else at that. That's rare in Luton. He went to a madrasa. He came to our school then when he was 12. And he told us that he had to leave his school because they started teaching him that his dad had the devil in him because he wasn't a Muslim. Now, Sully went on to join the Royal Navy. He is a loyalist, Queen and country. He hated the English Defence League. Yeah? Many of my friends didn't like the English Defence League. I'm trying to bring you into the personal story of my life because it's not as black and white, excuse the pun, as everyone wants to pretend it is. I'm not from this white area and white community. I didn't just wake up one day and think, you know what, I hate Muslims, because I don't. There's been an issue.
Bet you look good in a ninja suit, Alice. Hey?
There's been a story. There's a reason for a lot of this. In 2010, I set up a meeting with Theresa May. Obviously not to meet me. She didn't think she was meeting me. She thought she was meeting one of her constituents. I turned up instead. I turned up. I brought a laptop with me.
Chopsticks.
And I spent 20 to 25 minutes grilling her. You can read the story because the Daily Mail straight away, she must have some link. It got leaked straight away. The EDL leader ambushes Theresa May. Now, when I sat down with her, I explained to her my fears in Luton about Islamic extremism, because that's what they are, they're fears. That scares me. This ideology scares me. I've got 3 young kids. There's different sorts of fears. I've been in some bad situations. I got put in Wood Hill Prison, Category A prison, where 4 Muslims were in there who were in there for 30 years because they were planning to kill and blow us up. Yeah? I've had some very difficult situations, and that's a different sort of fear. Okay, I can deal with that. I can deal with a fear if I walk down the street and 10 Pakistani lads want to come over and I can deal with that. There's a fear I can't deal with. It's a fear when I look around my town, I look around my country, and I look at my kids, and I get this gut-wrenching fear that will not go away. That's a lot of what drives me. It's a lot. A lot of people say there's a fear, there's a reason why people are doing these things. Now, in 2010, I saw Theresa May. I explained to her about Luton Islamic Centre and the imam called Kadir Bask. They're part of my local council, yeah? Luton in Harmony programme. In that documentary, Proud and Prejudiced, that the imam was portrayed as the moderate imam from Luton. I've been on his website, okay? On his website, on the mosque website, it says we should execute homosexuals. A 12-page justification is why women should be lashed for adultery. I knew he was a school teacher. He was, so I warned Theresa May of all this in 2010. 2014, let me play a video of a conversation between me and Kadir. The problem I have is that, can you blame us when we're seeing this? Then when we see a moderate imam put forward, Luton has 30 mosques, only one Salafi, one Wahhabi, yeah? Who's the face all the time? Who's the representative that the council go to, the newspapers go to, the TV go to get their view on everything? The Salafi mosque, the Salafi imam. He has been empowered by my council to be the face, and he's not representative of the majority of Muslims in Luton, but that's what we see. Now, when I left the English Defence League, who did the radio station go straight to? Again, Kadir Bask, moderate imam.
As I was talking about Tommy Robinson, asking your questions about him, he came knocking on our door, and now he's sitting here in the studio with us. He's joined in the studio now by Kadir Bash from the Luton Islamic Centre, who we had as an arranged guest on this subject as well. So we've ended up having a bit of a Barney about all of this. And just before the news, Kadir, you said that in an ideal society there would be punishments for example, homosexuals. And Tommy Robinson had put the point to you that this is why he was concerned by your ideology, which is why he was anti-Islamic and into anti-Islamization, and put Luton Islamic Centre in that camp. Do you understand why Tommy Robinson might be concerned by Islamic ideology when, even though you say we don't want it in Britain, you do use phrases like in an ideal society and then come up with a statement like that?
Yeah, that's fair enough. He has every right to disagree and to criticise it. Because look, you can look at how the Sharia is established in Saudi Arabia, for example. Do the people fear the Sharia? They don't fear it. Actually, I haven't said that. Sometimes from the things that people fear is what keeps society in order. Like, you fear going to prison, so you do not commit a crime. It's similarly like that. It's a deterrent. The Sharia rules are deterrents. They're not implemented. How many hands get chopped off? How many women get lashed?
Doesn't stop you Muslim boys, though, do it? The deterrent. Don't stop you boys, do it? No, I don't have.
It just doesn't happen. Very, very, very few. So 40. I mean, it just does. Okay. In an ideal Islamic society, these laws do not get implemented. They're just deterrents.
Okay. Final question for Mr. Robinson. Then we have some calls, and I want you to talk to our listeners.
What Kadir's saying is that gays should be too scared to be gay. I have a problem when this man is a representative of the Muslim community in my town. I have a problem. I have a problem when I first met him. I called a meeting with him. I went to meet him. It's because all these tensions were in the town, and he's the main face. He's the main person I thought to see. When he walked in, he said, Tommy, Sharia law will not come to this country in your lifetime. Probably not your sons, but the generation after that. I said, thank you for concreting why I'm resisting this, Kadir. Now, I've never understood the term, I hate to say I told you so, yeah? But I now understand it, because it's not a nice feeling. We warned of grooming. You read the Rotherham report. This is from 2010.
Defend England against
The spread of Sharia law, the spread of terrorism, the spread of extremism, Islamization.
Wow, look how young he is, brother.
Could a Muslim
join
the English Defence League?
Of course they could, yeah.
Fucking hell, he's youngster, but any wow, little whippersnapper.
Of course they could.
And yet you say you're not against Muslims. Right. They could join your organisation, but you are against Islam.
We're against Islam taken in its 7th century barbaric form.
Well, your direct quote is, I'm not against Muslims, just Islam.
Against militant Islam. And when I say Islam, taken in its 7th century barbaric form. If Islam was to evolve, which it needs to evolve, to fit in with Western democracy, which is clearly not. Clearly there's a problem. Clearly the English Defence League is a phenomenon that swept this country. And with the issues I'm talking about, Jeremy, if I ask you, do you know anyone that's hooked on heroin sold to them by Muslim gangs? You probably don't. I do. Do you know any beautiful girls that you went to school with that are now wearing a burqa that don't see their family? Probably don't. I do. Do you know anyone who's been murdered by a Muslim gang? You probably don't. I do. Do you know any 15-year-old girls that you know that you've grown up with that have been raped or pimped? You don't. So I don't expect you to understand the issues.
These are all personal issues of yours.
Personal issues in towns and cities like mine that are happening, and they're not happening with the Sikh community. They're not happening with the Jewish community.
And indeed, they're not happening with most Muslims.
No, they're happening within the Islamic community. That's why I'm saying that it's an Islamic problem. And when I'm just a simple person, so I'm just a normal person, but when I'm looking at, I have to look for where this hatred is coming from. And talking about these girls like they're statistics. They're not statistics. These girls are, well, whose daughters do you think these are? Whose sisters? They're ours in working class towns and communities. And people are fed up with what's going on with it, and it is being ignored. For 20 years, our councillors and the leaders from the Islamic community have conspired with the police to not deal with Muslim pimping gangs. They've allowed systematic rape of our youth.
We will not be ignored no more.
By the fact of being scared to be called a racist. It's another quick video.
Non-Muslim youth, non-Muslim girls, raping, pimping, beating, abusing our whole system. Rather than deal with these gangs, they would rather persecute us, the people who are highlighting the issue. And the fact is, the police, the councils, the government, everyone needs to wake up.
Many of the issues when we formed the EDL that I wanted to raise and wanted to bring to the surface have been brought to the surface. Many of them. If you wish to, you can draw a graph on the arrests. Do it yourself. Look at the arrest rate for Muslim grooming gangs, which is a big problem in many of our communities. You'll see a line go straight across like this. English Defence League forms, the arrests go through the roof. Only when people took to the streets, only when they could not hide this fact any longer, because they've hid it, Only when the world's media were listening to us talk about what's happening to our family members and the police are facilitating it, did they do anything about it. I'll tell you one story. I stayed in Blackburn for the night before a demonstration. I spent the time with a family. I listened to horrific stories of what's happening to their 12-year-old daughter. She's going missing as well for days. She's got a 19-year-old brother in that room that's telling me the stories. I mean, horrific. When you hear these stories and you're having to listen to all these things that are going on, it's going on everywhere. The next day we're at the demonstration. It's all kicking off. I've gone down to the front where it's kicking off to try and calm people down. Who's at the front kicking off with the police? Her brother. There's usually a lot of reason for the anger that people are seeing, okay? To just label it and ignore it. The main reason I want to get across is why. That's the point I'm getting to, is why. Another point I'll make to you about prison. I've been in prison. Wood Hill is an ISIS training camp. That's it. Our category A jails now are radicalising and radicalising. We've got 800 coming out a year. When you go to jail, you're weak, you're vulnerable. You're now being turned to hate the system, hate the country, hate everything about us. And I'll make this claim now. At some time, this speech will be looked back upon after a prison convert has come out, maimed, killed and murdered on our streets, because it's going to happen. There's nothing being done. They're not segregated. They're not isolated. In 2012, I spent 20 weeks on solitary confinement. These terrorists are not on solitary confinement. They're on the wings, converting, making people take the Shahada, converting them. The imams, even in Wood Hill, are trying to do something. They're not trusted. They're not listened to. They're seen as stooges. People are not converting with the imam. They're converting with the radicals who are running the wings. In 2012, I spent 20 weeks. I flew to America on September 11th on someone else's passport. Pretty stupid thing to do, yeah? I got 10 months in jail for it. I thought it was quite harsh, but I got 10 months in jail. I spent 20 weeks in solitary confinement. Solitary confinement, 23 and a half hours a day. I was locked up. For half hour a day, I got let out to walk around a cage on my own. Put back in. Meals brought to your room. They're not allowed to do that, actually. You're only allowed to do that for 30 days because of your mental health. It's not good for your mental health. To get around that, they moved me from Wandsworth block, Bedford block, Wood Hill block, Wandsworth block, Wayland block. I was not allowed out of my cell because I'd be killed. My family noticed the difference in me as a person when they come to visit. Because of this, you see, fear is paralysing. And it's fear that paralysed Rotherham's police force. It's fear that paralysed our politicians. It's fear that has paralysed the British public to put up and tolerate with many of the things that are happening in this country. My family contacted human rights lawyers. They explained, listen, our son has spent 12 weeks in solitary confinement, listed all the things. All the human rights lawyers like this, you've definitely got a case, this is out of order, we'll get a judicial review. Yeah, he's the leader of the English Defence League. Whoa. I mean, we can't represent him. That's how toxic it's become. That's how powerful political correctness is. My family then looked for who represented Jamie Bolger's killer. Child killer. Cut off the penis of a child and fed it to him. Disgusting, sick. They contacted him. Went through the same scenario, explained the situation. Got to the fact that I was a leader of the English Defence League. Whoa. Can't touch him. He represented a child killer. He would not represent me. That is how toxic it had become to speak out and be critical of what I've seen. Now, we tried to get ASBOs. We did contact the council before any street protests. I'm not going to stand here and pretend I'm an angel, because I'm far from it. I'm not going to stand here and defend the actions of every English Defence League demonstration either, because some of them are indefendable, and I wouldn't want to anyway. What I would also point out, ISIS. Many ISIS fighters for ISIS, there's a lad I know from Luton who's out there fighting for him. They're coming back. I draw the point. They are following from scripture from the Quran. They practice from the same Quran that the Kurds who are fighting for freedom also follow. So I'm not saying all Muslims are bad. I'm saying what I've tried to do today and what I'm trying to paint a picture of is why. I want you to understand why. If we want to talk about my beliefs, I'd rather you heard my beliefs from my mouth. I'm called far right. I'm put in a box of the right wing because in this country we like to do that. It makes things less complicated. Many of my views are left wing and liberal. I just have a problem with what I see as fascism. I have a problem which I see as extremism. And any group like these clowns that are outside today, who are government funded, okay, linked with trade unions, it's their job to oppose fascism. Where were they Where were they with the rise of what Theresa May is now saying is the biggest threat to this country's history? My views are my views. I'm entitled to them. It's coming to an end now, but what I want you to ask yourselves again is, what would you have done on your soldier's homecoming? What would you have done witnessing the things you have growing up? What would you have done when you see your culture eroded, your identity disappearing, you see Sharia patrols, neighbours are being forced from their homes? What would you have done? As a young lad from Luton, I've made the decision. I've done what I did. I've done it, and I want you to know that it was born out of passion for what was right. It wasn't born out of hatred. To say this was all done out of hatred would be absurd. I've put my life on the line and had many negative effects from that, especially when we come down to the police. I was talking earlier about freedoms. I'm on a licence condition, I can't contact the EDL. I believe that we should all be fearful. If I went through a full story, I'd love to come back and have time to talk about this. Now I'm running out of time. I'd love to talk to you all about everything that's gone on with the police, because if they can do it to me, they can take away my freedoms. They can do it to you. It should be a worry to everyone. Finally, interfaith. We have interfaith policies across this country. Rip them all up, they're useless. They're completely useless. In my town, we have Sikh leaders, Muslim leaders, Christian leaders, twice a year, take a photo of each other, put their arm around them, stick it in the paper, that's their interfaith. It's not doing anything. It's no good. People, if we're serious and we want to solve this problem, our country has deep wounds. If we want to solve these wounds, you know the people you need to bring together? People on those EDL demos and the young kids being attracted to those Islamist organisations. It's the only way. The only way is with dialogue. And if I talk about, many times I say we need a revolution. I don't mean we need a revolution. We need a revolution within the Islamic community. We can't solve these problems. Problems will be solved by Muslims.
Yeah.
I'm having a meeting this week with Muslims in Luton who are running a campaign saying, "Not in my name." I watched the video, it's an hour and 20 minutes. It's a good video by the Imam. And I sat there and thought, this is what we've been asking for. We've been asking for Muslims to get as outraged as us at what these fanatics are doing. We've been asking for a clear wedge and a difference, and a clear difference between your ordinary Muslims and these Wahhabi Salafi extremists. And for the first time, I think I'm yet to be completely convinced, but it is the only route forward and the only path forward that I see if we want to hand down a safe and prosperous Britain. I'd like to thank you again.
Big up,
I hope
Tommy,
it's given you
lad.
a better insight.
Oh, Tommy.
Me, but I'd like to give...
Fucking Robin, son. Big up, lad.
The best society in the history of mankind was the society of the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If he cut the hand of the thief, we will cut the hand of the thief. If he stoned the adulterer, we will stone the adulterer. Because you will never find a better person in this life than him sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we take our own actions, our own penal code, our own social system, our economic system from the Quran and the Sunnah, from the actions and the sayings and the consent of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it's impossible for a Muslim who believes in Allah and who believes in the Sharia to say, no, we don't cut the hand of the thief, or we don't stone the adulterer. If the conditions are met, then the punishment will follow.
Luton has been saddled by the suggestion that it's a hotbed of Muslim extremism. The town has been repeatedly implicated in discussions about British jihadism and the many young British Muslims travelling to Iraq and Syria to join the ranks of ISIS. In this documentary, a local filmmaker interviews key figures from the town to explore the reasons why it's labelled the hotbed of Muslim extremism.
Well, I've lived in Luton pretty much all my life, and I've always said
Luton's got everything going for it, apart from its reputation. You think about the fundamentals, on the M1, got an international airport, got a sizable mass of people who are young and creative and well-skilled. We've got some really good employers. But for whatever reason, many people still look down on Luton. And I don't think that's right, actually. Luton's always been a place where different waves of people that have come from around the world have come and settled. In the 50s, it would have perhaps been people from Ireland coming in. In the 60s, those from the Caribbean.
We're talking about, bruv, fucking shit, oh, bruv. We're talking about fucking shit, oh, bruv.
70s and 80s, you've seen kind of Kashmiri and Pakistani, and even today, Eastern European. I think Luton's always going to be like that. We've got a police force that does all that it can to try and keep Luton one of the safest places to be. We know there are...
talking about, bruv? What you're talking about, bruv? Fucking shit, oh!
Particular issues here in Luton, including, for example, around counter-terrorism and extremism. The fundamental problem we have is that the police force here is funded to half the level as, say, it would be if we were 20 miles down the M1 in London. If we were funded the same as the Metropolitan Police, we'd have twice as many officers actually working to police here. So I think the police do a really good job, by and large. It's only...
We're talking about, bruv, you have 1 million coppers and there'll still be a bunch of fucking snowflakes. We're talking about, bruv.
Ever going to improve if we've got
greater
resources. Coppers. In other words, people actually on the streets having these kind of conversations that help with communication.
Let them do it, bruv.
And help alert people to problems before they emerge. There's this idea that perhaps the threat from extremism and terrorism is one which is on the white community from the Muslim community. Actually, that's not the case. The biggest risk from extremism is that we might lose our own Muslim young people, perhaps to Syria or elsewhere. And so I want to see that understanding, but also the right level of resource going in, regardless of your political party or whether you voted for this government.
What's he fucking talking about? What's he talking about, man?
Or didn't, would have to conclude that we are underfunded in a number of key areas. We're built right up to our boundary, which means we need help with housing.
You're talking shit, bruv. You have all the money in the world, billions, zillions. You're talking about, bruv, you have all the police force. You still fucking shit all.
Don't have that from this government. We have a huge cohort of young people coming up through our schooling system, but we don't have enough school places. And again, no help from this government. And in terms of policing, basic public services, we're historically underfunded. What you've got to understand is that Luton is an area that can't raise the same kind of revenues locally as some nice leafy parts of Surrey through business rates or council taxes. It pains me greatly when I see...
It's all about fucking money, bruv. What about money? How much money you got? How much money you got in your pocket, bruv?
Daily Mail or the Mail on Sunday.
I was blaming somebody else to do,
various different issues to do with counter-terrorism and extremism.
Fucking blaming somebody
else.
As
though Luton was some kind of hotbed. The reality is the links that most of these newspapers draw together are very tangential at most. And they also detract from the very real challenge that we do face here in Luton. As I said to you before, one of my biggest concerns is about how do we safeguard young people, for example, from getting caught up in extremism. Now,
Stop laughing, stop smiling, bruv. Relax, it's serious business. You've got trouble in your town. Hey. No money's going to help you. No fucking 20 million coppers is going to help you because they're all in on it. Simple-minded, bruv. You might as well be Antifa. Don't expect he actually lives in Luton either.
That's an entirely different group of people to the radical hate preacher someone might want to link to Luton, or the 7/7 bomber that chose to come from Luton railway station even though they didn't live here in the town. It's important we separate the myth from the fact. And that's why, for example, most recently when the Sunday Times did an article about instead of bombing Syria, we should bomb Luton, I was so outraged and I raised it directly with the editor of the Sunday Times to say it's not acceptable
for us to be the butt of your jokes, and it causes major negative problems.
We're laughing
during
for
the
it,
town.
bruv. Hey, it's like you see them doing a little outburst, but they must laugh and smile. Hey, we're laughing for, bruv.
You know, like this Islamic extremist group, Al Mujahideen, I first come across them in 2004. In fact, in 2005 on St. George's Day, we held up a flag with their name on it. This is before most people, I don't even know if you would have known who they were back then, but I don't know how many people in the UK would have known who this group was. Yeah? But I knew who they were. We knew who they were. We live in Luton. So we you know, Roger Ibrahim, Beaky, one of the men who was convicted of the Soldiers' Homecoming. He was 2 years above me at school. Roger, the ginger prick. He was, I used to knock about him when I was younger. Actually done a few bits with his sister.
According to the majority of people living in Luton, there's two main characters that are largely responsible for the negative media spotlight on the town. Both are what most people would refer to as hate preachers. They are Tommy Robinson, the former leader of the English Defence League, whose real name happens to be Stephen Yaxley Lennon, and his nemesis, Andam Chowdhury, a co-founder of the banned group Al Muhajirun, and currently serving 5.5 years in jail for urging support of ISIS. As a consequence of creating an atmosphere of fear and division in the town, on the 26th of April 2012, both the English Defence League and United Against Fascism were banned from holding more demonstrations in the town centre.
Fucking state of that. See the state of that then. Fucking hell. Fuck.
Under the last Labour government, we banned the first emergence of the English Defence League coming and marching here in the town. Under this Conservative government, they've chosen not to. So what we would need to do in order to permanently ban these kind of groups from coming, marching and stirring up hatred is we'd have to change some of the kind of steps in legislation. At the moment, the threshold for being proscribed or perhaps banned under public order offences is pretty high. You have to be able to demonstrate.
Gavin Sucker. Aye, Sucker. You little sucker. Yeah. You little snowflake bitch. Yeah, I bet this couple, how old is this? 6 years ago. 6 years ago. I bet he's eating his words now.
Demonstrate, for example, the police aren't equipped to be able to handle a march. Now, actually, it's quite easy to handle a march. You just need an enormous number of officers. We need to change that threshold to make it easier to introduce different steps. And so I've met with the counter-extremism minister, who's not of my party, actually, to make that point directly to him. We need some interim steps that allow us to promote community cohesion.
Oh, you've done Adam Chowdhury, fucking his brother or something. That's all you are. That's all you've done is allow Muslims to do whatever they want and take out the patriots of the town who was brought up there and lived there all their lives. That's what you've done. And you've stopped the right to protest. Fucking idiot.
In a town like Luton. Yeah. Overall, I'm not fundamentally in favour of.
This is what they're doing. I don't know if you've all noticed up and down England. Mad.
Banning individuals or groups from having views. I think in a free society, you've got to enable free speech. But what I am fundamentally committed to is preventing people from targeting a single person or a single group of people and intimidating them, which is the classic definition of what's happened in this town over the last 5 or 6 years, while successive Tory ministers actually have refused to engage on the issue.
I think Gavin Shuker, who is who I was supposed to meet actually. Do you know I bumped into him? Chicken George. Do you know Chicken George? You know Chicken George? But you can't eat. You eating Chicken George? No, it's the only one Muslims don't eat in. Yeah. Yeah, you know about Chicken George. But yeah, I bumped into him. This is the problem that I see. I bumped into him in Chicken George, and
I read up that at the House of Commons, he held a Celebrate the Prophet Muhammad Day. Yeah? He organised it. So when I said, listen, Gavin, the first time I've seen you in 6 years, after everything that's gone on, everything you've stood on the TV and said about me, can we just have a word outside the chicken shop? I think I wasn't being aggressive or anything towards him. I said, just a quick chat. So I said to him then, tell me what you know about the Prophet Muhammad. And he just looked at me blank. I goes, well, I know Muslims. And he said, well, I know. I goes, come on, mate. You held to Celebrate the Prophet Muhammad Day. What do you know about him? He said, well, I know Muslims respect him. I was just like, oh, come on, mate. What do you know about his life? What is it you wanted to celebrate about his life that you know? Just look blank. For me, as a non-Muslim, he's a non-Muslim. I said, that is pathetic. You're holding a day to celebrate who someone from a non-Muslim perspective, I see as an immoral man. Yeah? I'm not going to sit here and slate him. He's a prophet. Yeah? I see him as an immoral man. I see that he committed heinous acts. Yeah? All these different things that I see that you know nothing about, Gavin. What do you know about him? And he said, I said, so surely before you celebrate a man's day, you'd research him. I said, a lot of people admired Hitler, but you wouldn't celebrate a celebration of his life. But yeah, so Gavin Sukkar, when he says both groups gave Luton a bad name, anything I did, anything we did was a reaction. We were a reaction to a problem. If that problem had been dealt with either by Gavin Sukkar's government, by Gavin Sukkar's Labour Party, who in fact now he's actually coming out now admitting that there's huge problems in the Labour Party in Luton with postal irregularities, voting and etc. etc. I think he said democracy's finished within the local Labour Party because of the way they're just using the system. But yeah, if his group and his government would have dealt with these problems, no one would have heard of Tommy Robinson. There would have never been an English Defence League. But his government and his local council's tactic was to appease and appease some more. And that led to the English Defence League. So if any of them have a bad or negative word to say about me or any of the group I formed, well, they need to realise that they created it. That it's their fault it happened. They made it. Yeah. So Gavin Sukkar, if you're watching this, the English Defence League sole purpose and the reason it formed the UPL was to tackle and combat Anjem Choudhury's group. Yeah? And our tactics, I remember seeing Eric Pickle saying what sort of people would want to do this or what tactics, and all we were doing in the early days was following Al-Majroon. That's all we were doing. They were holding Islamic Roadshow across the UK. So what it was, so we had the United People of Luton and it was a Luton issue. And then I remember sitting on the internet and watching as the same group who have 6 weeks prior just disrupted the whole nation and spat in their soldiers' faces. And now 6 weeks later, they're standing in Birmingham City outside the Bullring in the shopping centre under a big massive banner that reads Jesus was a Muslim. And they're converting a 11-year-old kid called Sean, who's just shopping with his mate. They've got him up on stage and they're saying, repeat after me. And they've made him convert to Islam. And they're all screaming Allah Akbar. And this is 6 weeks after what they did in Luton. So I think no one's even trying to stop this group. And this Islamic Roadshow, when I looked online, I thought they've got all these other dates. They had dates in Wood Green, they had dates across the UK that they're going to be basically doing this. So that was simply how we started. After the Soldiers' Homecoming, there was a lot of tension. There was some of the extremist houses were attacked. The Luton Islamic Centre was firebombed. There seemed to be tit-for-tat things were banging it across for different groups in the town, yeah? Now, because of all of this, in response to this, a large group from Luton Islamic Centre come out and confronted Al-Majroon after Friday prayers in Bury Park. There's a video that you can watch it. They come out and move on, look what you're doing to our community. And I went home. This was when I was still under the name, I was using the name Wayne King. That was the name I was using at the time. But I went home and I emailed Luton Islamic Centre. This was before, if I'm honest, I wasn't opposed to Islam. Yeah? I wasn't at this point. At this point, I wasn't. I didn't know enough about it. Didn't know that much about it. At this point, I had a problem with these extremists that I've seen taking the piss. I had a problem with Luton Borough Council, which I felt was treating us as non-Muslims as second rate. Had a problem with lots of things that would have gone around social problems in the town. Yeah. So I went home and I emailed the imam at Luton Islamic Centre and just said like how encouraging it was what I saw today. Yeah. But I'm pissed off with your motives. But why I'm pissed off is because you've only come out and confronted them for the first time in 20 years because your mosque got blown up.
Yeah, you're responsible for the children being scared. There's a Pakistani brother who sees his face got beat up on Sunday. And don't deny it, because if you were there, you would have seen it yourself.
Founded in the 80s, the band group Al Muhajirun used to hold demonstrations in this spot of Luton. And captured in this footage, the vast majority of Muslims living in the town don't seem to be that fond of the group's views. It shows an angry mob from the Islamic Centre confronting Al Muhajirun.
Had we achieved what we wanted to achieve, we're never going to achieve what we want to achieve, because what I want to achieve is I want to stop the Islamisation of this country. I want to act, no, I don't want to stop it. I want to de-Islamify.
Yeah, that love.
So yeah, I've got a bit of a task.
I don't fucking know. I don't know.
Why did I leave?
It all badges.
It wasn't shut down. The EDL was still going. In fact, I made predictions that were incorrect. I thought the EDL would be taken over by far right groups, more extreme, and it wasn't. They stayed true to the core belief that it was started on. Why did I leave? The truth? I left because I was forced to leave. That's the truth. I was in a situation where I was facing 3 to 5 years in prison for a crime I hadn't committed. The authorities had me in a position they wanted me in. I was offered a get out by Majid Nawaz. I was offered financial support for the duration of my prison sentence for my family. And for the first time in 5 years, I put my wife and children's security and stability before my belief.
We drove to Ilford to meet one of the UK's most notorious radical clerics, a man who the media have long regarded as one of the most dangerous men in the UK, and the individual behind the emergence of Al Muhajirun.
If you look at the word Islam in the classical Arabic dictionaries like Imam Fairuz Abadi's Qamus al-Muhit, he said that Islam means istislam, means submission. The Muslim is the one who submits in every aspect of life. Therefore, in my relationship with my wife, with my mother, in the masjid, in society, and also in jihad. In jihad, we fight to defend ourselves. Sometimes we fight against the enemy. Sometimes people are killed. So Islam is peace. Then where is the concept of jihad? Where is the concept of the hudud, the penal code, where we cut the hand?
Peace off. Peace off. You fucking bullshit. Peace off.
The thief, or we stone the adulterer. So Islam does not mean peace. Islam is submission. Submission to the commands of Allah in our life. Obviously, we can live peacefully with people who want to live peacefully with us. If people want to declare war against us, we will fight them and we will defend ourselves. So
locked up, bro,
this idea of Islam meaning peace is okay for those people who want to beat the Muslims and to bomb them and kill them. And they say, don't fight back because Islam means peace. No, Islam is submission.
No Muslim. Oh, you can say peace as much as you want, and it's like peace off, like no peace. There's no peace. There's no peace. I haven't seen no peace in Islam. Stoning women, cutting off people's heads and that because they burnt the book. Fuck off, you little fucking junkies. Little fucking junkies.
Should respect the royal family. The British royal family are enemies of Islam and Muslims. They're enemies of Allah.
Allah.
So don't know we should have allegiance to the Queen, to the enemy of Allah. Or not have any love for her, or any allegiance to her, or any support for her. She is a taghut, and she is the enemy of Islam and Muslims. We should treat her as an enemy. Mean we hate her, we declare animosity.
So we should treat every Muslim then as an enemy. That's what we should do. Every Muslim's an enemy now. Yeah. Fucking dickhead.
Towards her, even maybe we have covenant with her, so you cannot fight. For those people who do not have covenant, there's no problem for them to target or to treat her as a complete enemy directly.
I know it's the biggest fucking piss take use of fucking English language I've ever heard. I mean, where did even, like, who invented Islamophobe? Did Zubida invent that down the park? Where did it even come from? It's like a fidget spinner. Fucking come and gone, like. They overused the word, now it's gone. Now everybody's a Nazi. Everybody's a Nazi now. Fuck, couldn't make it up, man. I'm telling you something now, I'd rather be called classed as a racist. I'd rather be fucking far fucking right, fucking whatever you want to call it, yeah, than be a nonce apologist or fucking be on that side of fucking life. Let me tell you now, call me what you want, but nobody call me a nonce apologist. Can fucking call me what you want. Fuck, nobody call me a nonce apologist. Silly cunts. Silly cunts.
Mizanur Rahman, also known as Abu Bara from London, is another British radical hate preacher. He was convicted of solicitation to murder and sentenced to 4 years.
The people didn't even like fidget spinners had a fucking fidget spinner. I don't know why. It just, I don't know, for a day or two, everybody seemed to have one.
Years in 2007.
Or 4.
More recently, in 2016, Rahman was convicted of inviting support for a proscribed organisation alongside Anjem Choudhury.
You know, if you look at Europe alone, there's over 50 million Muslims. Are we going to now desert them and say, well, we're never a Muslim country? This is rubbish. Nobody will ever say that. The whole world will become part of the Islamic State one day and will be governed by the Sharia, whether the people like it or not. If you want to work in Muslim countries, go to Muslim countries. But don't live here and say, I want to work in Muslim countries. Then you go to Muslim countries, say, well, I want to work in non-Muslim countries, and you end up not doing anything at all. We hope that the people in Britain embrace Islam as a way of life. They accept it as a better way of life than they have at the present time, which it certainly is. But it may...
Adam, as you say in Wales, shove it up your ass, bro. Shove it right up your ass. Backwards fucking ideology. I've seen the fucking brain dead fucking zombies they create, and I've listened to most of them on YouTube. Seen most of them down the park. They're all brain dead zombies following ideology that none of you even know. Most of us listening, beyond hours, there's not many of us, but we could be more Muslim than fucking Muslims. Yeah, part-time bunch of Muslims. So fucking peace off.
Maybe that by way of a foreign policy...
I've had enough pussyfooting around these fucking Muslims and their fucking... their emotions and that.
Islamic State, the obstacles in the way of implementing the Sharia could be manifesting themselves in this country.
You can't say that.
Or we could even have a kind of struggle as we saw.
Fucking worst ideology I've ever fucking come across in my life. It's like a last saloon for fucking somebody seeking a faith, Islam. If you're brain dead, like Brian Earl or fucking Esau and people like us, you're gonna follow it because I mean you can be a nonce. Fucking wrong ends. Fucking wrong ends.
Bosnia or in other parts of the world where the Muslims engage with the non-Muslims and they end up in a position of authority. Now, how it comes about, Allah only knows.
That tidful passion, right, is coming through because I got a 9-year-old. And she's getting older every fucking year. Yeah. They don't get no younger. They go getting older. And I tell you now, it's not happening.
So that the fact that it will come to Britain and to Russia and China and all other parts of the world is a certainty because the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allah showed me the east of the east and the west of the west, and the authority of my ummah, meaning the Muslims,
shove it up your ass,
was over the whole of it. So it will come everywhere, including in Britain, one day. This is a prophecy and a certainty that we believe in as Muslims.
Shove it up your ass.
We abide by Islamic law. Now, if it so happens Islamic law agrees with the law, then we do it because Islam says.
No, you don't, Adam. You make it up as you go along to suit your needs, to suit your agendas for that particular fucking country that you're in. You make it up as you go along. Hopscotch, muddled up train crash of a fucking ideology.
I put my seatbelt on because Allah allowed me to put it on, not because Queen Elizabeth said put your seatbelt on. And anything which disagrees with Islamic law, we don't abide by.
We asked Stanjum what he thought would happen to the current governing bodies if Sharia law was indeed implemented here in the UK.
One of the fundamental pillars of the ruling system, we say, is al-hakimiyya lillah. Sovereignty belongs solely to Allah. And we can say, if you like, as-siyada bin shara'i. The supremacy is for the Sharia in terms of life. Now, this being the case, the sovereignty in this country belongs to the Queen, to Parliament, to MPs. They make the law, they make the halal and the haram according to their own whims and desires in Parliament. This will never be the case under the Sharia. In Sharia, the law has already been determined by Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala in the Quran and through His Messenger Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So there's no place for sovereignty.
Here's a question for you, silly man. If you love your Sharia so much, what are you doing in Britain? And the rest of you fucking Muslims, if you love your Sharia so much, what are you doing in Britain? Because there's not going to be no Sharia here. So what are you doing here?
Belonging to other than Allah. The Muslim body, which is called the Khilafah and the administration, merely is an administrative body implementing the Sharia in life's affairs. Therefore, there'll be nothing called the Queen, there'll be no Prime Minister, no President.
As Raj, Speaker's Corner, once said, I am paying no jizya. I'm paying no jizya, fool.
There'll be no ministers in terms of portfolios where they implement the law and order and they decide what is good and bad. Rather, there will be governors of areas, there will be wulat, if you like, and there will also be managers of certain areas managing the different departments of the state. But their own role will be administrative, not legislative. This is the fundamental difference between sovereignty belonging to Allah, as in Islam, and sovereignty belonging to man, as in all man-made law and all systems like democracy, republicanism,
Babs, I see it like as Danny lad. I see it as like a common. It's just a commonsensical question. Like, you know what I mean? You want the Sharia law. You want your Muslim. What are you doing here? Like, what are you doing here? Like, you're getting all this Islamophobe, fucking all this Islamophobia put on you, and that. What are you doing here? Apparently, you made that journey across the English Channel for a better life, British life, what Britain can give you. And let me tell you now, Britain do fucking give out a lot to people, as we all know. More than the people that's actually on the island in the first place, struggling to make ends meet, living on our streets, fighting for our country, living on our streets. What are you doing here, like? British law. So respect the British law, respect the British. But 80% of you, maybe 85% of you, none of you there's no respect in you. There's no respect in you. And the young Muslims coming up are even worse. The younger Muslims. The old man's old man, I would say they were the best Muslims. That was when it may be peace, submission. More submission in them and a bit more peace in them. Because all you hear coming from them now is distaste, and they use their words very, very sneakily and PC. Yeah, but I can see what they're up to. I can see what the bigger picture is. And if you're not thinking like it's going to be we are not being replaced, because they're outbirthing us by crazy numbers, guys. The numbers don't lie. The numbers don't lie. They're outbirthing us. Taff need to have some women over here. I need to bang out some more white kids. Yeah. So any women. Yeah, I put that out there. We need to bang out some triplets now. Yeah, I'll put that out there. Triplets, quadruplets. We need to get it going. Because we've just been outnumbered every day, every year. It's going up and 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 up. We need to get back in the sack, guys. Sort your fucking lives out. Get some more white privilege on the streets, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Whatever secular type of system you may have.
What do you think would happen to me if I walked through Berry Park? Honestly, being honest. Just because I'm being honest with every question. I always am in my interviews. Yeah? I'll be very honest about everything.
You wouldn't be walking.
What do you lads think would happen if I...
You wouldn't be walking.
Do you think I'd get killed? Yeah, I don't think one person would stop it. Yeah. I don't think anyone would stop it. I think everyone would join in. I think everyone would have every car or chicken shop or shop, and that's how I think it would roll. Yeah, and I don't think there'd be many people trying to stop it at all. I think I'd get murdered if I walked through Luton.
He's got a good point.
Now, I don't think there's any area in the UK that yourselves or anyone can walk through. That's how I feel. I don't think there is, bruv. And I'll get, that's why I get so, it's like you keep saying, I said, well, there's loads of places I'm not safe. But Anjem Chowdhury is, or Saiful Islam is. He don't get his head kicked in walking around this town. Do you know what I mean? I said, so what do I think of Luton? I think Luton is I love Luton. Really love Luton. But I feel...
Oh, Apple, the Scots under Sharia law doesn't even sound right. It just doesn't. It doesn't sound right. It just doesn't like click. It doesn't work. It doesn't mix. It doesn't sound right. You imagine, right? We gotta pay a tax one day, maybe 25 years' time. If Taffam knocked out his fucking rugby squad, when we are the minority, maybe 25, 30 years' time. And it'd be like, well, we knew it was coming. We spoke about it on social media. But we did nothing, really. We just talked about it.
disappointed and disgusted at some of the things that have been allowed to happen to it. Who do I put at fault to that? Do I blame some of the Muslims who come here and want Sharia law? Not really, no. Why wouldn't they? I blame the council. I blame our authorities. I blame our pathetic cowardice leaders who have sat and allowed this to happen. I blame the people who have encouraged these people and told them to come to this country, and it's okay to still have your beliefs. It's okay to still stick and tie to your culture, which promotes certain intolerances, whether it be to homosexuals or women. I don't blame a Muslim for wanting Sharia law. I think Luton is... Why do we have such a bad problem? Why is Luton so... I think a lot of that comes down to, I don't know where your family's originally from, but a lot of the Pakistanis in Luton are from Kashmir, which is quite an uneducated, tribalistic sort of mindset. That's why we have a lot of problems. That's why I see it. Not just that, but this town was used by Al Mujahideen as their head office. Omar Bakri, Abu Hamza, they're all based here in the 80s. Before we knew what was going on. The Gulf invasion was probably the start of their leap. Look, the whole country views Luton as a shithole. That's the reality. Yeah? How do I feel about that? What part do I think I've played in that as well? I sat recently looking at the plans for the future of Luton. A £1.5 billion project, yeah? I don't know if you looked into it.
Guys.
You know St Mary's Church, you know the development of the town centre. The work they're going to do
excuse me.
for Luton. I don't know if they'd have got that if it weren't for the EDL. That's how I feel. I genuinely feel. This amount of money that's being put into this town.
Morning, lad.
To,
Charlie, morning.
Give it a facelift, basically, because of the bad reputation we have. I think I played my part in helping that. So, and I do. And I think it's going to be great for Luton when I look at the plans for the future. I still think we're going to face...
What are you talking about, Tommy? Luton's fucking it's like Bradford, Tommy. You can have 1 million coppers in Luton. You can have all the money in the world. It's fucked.
Huge problems on it with relationships between Muslims and non-Muslims. I think we're going to continue. We're embedded with this problem, or your community certainly is embedded with this problem from jihad and radicalisation, and that's not going to go away. But will Luton?
Luton's fucked, Tommy.
No, Luton's a blueprint for every other town and city. That's what people who are living in these other towns and cities they need to realise that the problems that have happened here are going to happen everywhere anyway. We've just faced them because our demographic has changed quite fast, quite quick, and we've been led by a pathetic Labour council.
There's no concept of become Muslim and die. This is invented by the Western media to tarnish the Muslims. They said the same thing about Afghanistan and Sheikh Osama bin Laden. They said, he's a freedom fighter first, fighting against the Russians, then he became a terrorist. Even Nelson Mandela was a terrorist, and then he became, the best person ever for them. So even Muhammad Ali, who passed away recently, may Allah give him Jannah. First of all, he was, a kind of an outlaw. Then after that, he became the most respected person, in the...
Nothing like you are, Adam, is he? Let's be fair. I mean, you're a cunt above the cloth, you are, bro. You're a right cunt.
History, in the American history. So people can't make up their minds. Give it more...
We're talking about people who actually done some good, innit? They actually did do some good. Like, what good? What actual good have you done?
Another 10 years or 20 years, they'll be saying, the Islamic State is wonderful. We want to make hijrah there ourselves. We want to live there. Look at the beauty of the relationship between the Muslims and the non-Muslims. People go through stages and they go through these phases. At the current time, because the Islamic State is rejecting the man-made borders at the Sykes-Picot Agreement, the borders between Palestine and Jordan and Lebanon, etc., they don't like this because division...
Well, you do actually reject all rule other than Muslim rule. Right or wrong? You go into pockets, towns, and you turn them into Muslim areas very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. I.e. Bradford. i.e. Luton. And it's criminal. It is criminal. For the old boys personally, you know. For the old boys personally, to see how their towns are gone. Especially you English, you know. You got a fucking big fight on your hands, you English. I'm telling you now. Don't get me wrong, we have in Wales too, like, but at the moment, it's fucking not looking good in England. It's not looking good at all. And it's gotta be burnt down to be fucking built back up. Brick by brick by brick.
Control is the foreign policy of the American regime and their own allies. They like to establish their military interests, their economic interests, their strategic interests, and use up the resources. And they do that by dividing you, putting puppets in place and quelling any uprising. But the fact is now you have a new uprising. You don't have a change of regime. You have a revolution, an Islamic revolution. But people don't accept any of the regimes. They don't accept.
This is one of your best men at your wedding, guys. Huh? Old Adam here. Looks such a nice man, doesn't he? Isn't he? Like somebody's dad, somebody's granddad. Like such a nice man. Looks like a doctor, an art surgeon even. No. Real profession. Terrorist. Professional terrorist. Pretty good too.
Any of the laws. They only accept divine.
Like fucking remind me of Ted Bundy, this cunt.
Oh, this is a new phenomenon for the Americans. They never faced an Islamic state implementing the Sharia. Therefore, all of the venom, all of the hatred has come. They remember a history of the Crusades. They remember a history, centuries of struggle in Europe between Christianity and Islam. And suddenly, this giant, this empire has re-emerged. Half of Europe was governed by the Sharia at one time. 800 years of Sharia in Spain. These people cannot forget this. Therefore, they will make every effort to try to extinguish.
And you still can't drink the water out there. Fucking unbelievable.
The light of Allah. To put out any rising where.
I mean, you still can't drink the water out there from a tap.
People want to call for the Sharia and the divine law. And they want to make sure that their own foreign policy.
If you want your Sharia, go to the fucking Muslim countries, eh? That's where you'll have your Sharia. No, but you've got the best of both worlds here, innit? That's what I'm thinking. You've got the best of both worlds. You want to have your little Sharia courts for Muslim only, obviously, yeah? And you want to live in the West under British law. How was that going to work, guys? How's that going to work? As much as I fucking would love to stone Maggie Thatcher in the street, I can't. She's dead. But maybe that's the only sort of thing I would take from Islam. I'd stone Maggie Thatcher. That's gone now because she's dead, isn't it? She's lucky. I just get stoned now over the thought of her dead and rejoice.
And the interests in these countries are protected. And this
really
is the real reason why this attack is there against the Islamic State. They are not killing people, innocent.
I'm a Welsh far-right racist, Bradford-hating, sicko, sheepshagger. Yeah, I like that.
People. They are not just slaughtering people for the sake of it. The Christians are returning to Mosul, have returned to Mosul. Many of the Yazidis embrace Islam. The Christians, Jews, and Muslims live side by side. The people who are slaughtering innocent people are via the drones. The Americans and British and others killing innocent people. They've done this before in Afghanistan. They're doing this in Iraq and Syria, and as well, through things like Abu Ghraib, Guantanamo Bay, Bagram, torturing people, and then saying, "Oh, we'll close it one day," and it's still there. Hundreds of people.
We're talking about Adam. You're all fucking banged up. How are you? You bang bars and you crazy cunt. Crazy cunt.
Who are the ones talking about human rights and civility, and yet they don't abide by what they say? At least these people abide by what they say. They say if you commit a crime, you'll be punished. Whereas in the West, they say one thing, and yet they do something else. They say, oh, we believe in rights and liberties. Where are the rights for the people in Guantanamo Bay? Non-existence. That is the hypocrisy of Western civilization.
Where's the rights for the people who fucking you bombed? Was they right? Was they right to fucking get them out of there so they didn't have to get fucking blown to fucking bits by you with fucking bombs? You're wrong. Fucking sicko. Fucking, I'm telling you now. I hate these type of people like butter wouldn't melt in his fucking mouth. Yeah.
Having spent over 4 hours with Anjem in an Asian sweet store, we were somewhat unconvinced by his argument. So we asked him whether he felt it would be more appropriate for him to be living in a country that actually adheres to Islamic law.
Fucking hell, he read my mind, bruv.
Well, look, at the current time, my passport has been taken and I don't have a driving license. I have certain birth conditions where I cannot go to an airport or even apply to take another passport or driving license. You know, I can't associate with more than 2 people. I have many restrictions on my movement. You know, but otherwise, I said openly, publicly in the media, I would love to go with my wife, my children, and my friends. You know, to live under the Khilafah and experience life under the Sharia. But you know, if the government don't want you to leave, we will continue to our project to implement the Sharia where we are.
Get a load of this cunt.
And the irony is this, you see, that all these years they've been saying, if you don't like it here, go back to your own countries. Now that people actually want to go back to Iraq and Syria, they're saying, don't go, stay here. Otherwise, you know, we're going to arrest you because you're supporting terrorists. So they can't make up their mind. You know, Hidayah is from Allah. Allah is the one who guides. You know, if they understand or they don't understand, this is not in my hands. But definitely, Islam will be implemented over the people in England, whether over their noses by force or willfully.
Oh, you did your first. Should we play our back? Gee, cunt.
Driving license. I have certain birth conditions where I cannot go to an airport or even apply to take another passport or driving license. You know, I can't associate with more than 2 people. I have many restrictions on my movement.
Yeah.
You know, but otherwise, I said openly, publicly in the media, I would love to go with my wife, my children, and my friends.
Yeah.
To live under the Khilafah and experience life under the Sharia. But you know, if the government don't want you to leave, we will continue to our project to implement the Sharia where we are. You know, and the irony is this, you see, that all these years they've been saying, if you don't like it here, go back to your own countries. Now that people actually want to go back to Iraq and Syria, they're saying, don't go.
Fuck off, Adam, you fucking bullshitter.
Stay here. Otherwise, you know, we're going to arrest you because you're supporting terrorists. So they can't make up their mind. You know, Hidayah is from Allah. Allah is the one who guides. You know, if they understand or if they don't understand, this is not in my hands. But definitely, Islam will be implemented over the people in England, whether over
Islam will be implemented over the people in England. I'm glad he didn't say Wales. That would have really fucking raged me.
their noses by force or willfully. Obviously, we prefer to be willfully with their own acceptance, and may Allah, you know,
Oh, come and take it, big balls. Come and take it. See what happens to you.
guide their hearts to Islam because it would be better for them. But if they don't accept it, we're not going to stop calling for Islam and the Sharia. It will be implemented anyway.
According to the various media platforms,
Oh, scruffy beard. You come and fucking take it. See what happens to you, bro.
Anjem is considered to be largely responsible for the ill reputation
Pass
of
him
the town.
by.
But what does he have to say about that?
In fact, if you say it's a hotbed of terrorism, then I would say superior, Luton. Because terrorism today is terrorizing the enemies of Islam. Terrorism today is equated with people who call for the Sharia. Terrorism is...
So anybody who opposes Islam, you mean? Anybody who doesn't follow Islam, you mean? Enemy. Big words. Big words. Enemy. To make you my enemy, you've literally got to shag my missus. You've got to literally piss or take a dump on my dinner. Yeah. You've got to put my windows through. You've got to pinch, rob from me. You've got to hurt my daughter. Make an enemy a tough. You've got to hurt my mother or my father. And you've got an enemy. But this guy is like, he's got a family. And he's got a full community of Muslims behind him. And he's basically saying, we're going to take over this country. Get used to it. And that's the rhetoric I'm hearing from Ghost Speakers Corner. what I mean? Get used to it because it's the way it's going to rock and roll. And it's kind of annoying and a liberty all at the same time. Because even though they're saying it, I'm thinking to myself, oh, no, that ain't going to fucking happen. That ain't going to happen. The way they're outbirthing us, it will, like 20, 30 years' time. Fuck knows. If it carries on like it is, fuck knows. Fuck knows. Taff could be Taff and passing Apple. Shivitz, go deep. I don't think you'll be part of that sort of scenario. Charlie, you're not in Britain. Babs, we'll be in the minority, and we'll be like, oh, fuck's sake. Remember Taff was talking about it? Remember Tommy was talking about it? Yeah, we can't talk about it, Taff. Can't talk about it, Get fucking... Yeah. Can't talk about that. Can't talk about that. Tommy was talking about Rotherham, 1,400 girls back fucking nearly 10 years ago, and nobody listened to him doing that Oxford address. Nobody listened to him then. Nobody listened to anybody. Nobody listened to anybody up until the last couple of fucking months. Be careful what you're saying, Tav. Watch what you're saying, bro. Fuck off. Fuck off. Silly cunts.
People engaged in dawah, in commanding good and forbidding evil. A Muslim who is practicing is perceived as a terrorism. So if I have something to do with this, with getting Muslims to practice, to teach them their deen, to come out openly, publicly, to condemn the government.
The way I see it, guys, fair's fair. And if Muslims could say anything they want about us, anything they want, literally, right? Infidels, kufa, trash. Our white girls are trash. Yeah, slags. So if they can do that, then tit for tat, innit? But as soon as we go back, as soon as we go, your prophets and nods. Yeah. As soon as we want to start talking about 6 and 9, Aisha, 6 and 9, they want to divert, just like Shines did the other night on the channel. I've never known one Muslim really to sit down with anybody and discuss it. Proper discuss it. I've never known it, like, because it always ends up in the shit show, or they divert, or let's talk about Christians. Let's talk about your Bible. I don't understand it, like. And then we're far right Nazis, fascists, Islamophobes. Oh, fuck off. I've had a tit full of it. I have. I don't know about you lot. I've had a fucking tit full of it. Fucking this name calling, and when there's like issues going on and that need to be addressed, and we can't talk about it because can't talk about that. Fucking hell. Upset a couple of people. You know what I mean? Upset a couple of people. Upset Bradford. Couldn't tell them their town stinks of curry, seeing as it's the curry capital of Britain. But we know it's the truth, Taff. Yeah, we know you're telling the truth, but it's the way you're wording it. It's the way you're telling it. Fuck off. Fuck off.
To terrorize the enemies of Islam, then I'm very proud of this. So, it depends on your definition. Obviously, terrorism is a pejorative nowadays. It has a lot of negative connotations. But I think there can be terrorism pro-life and terrorism against life. There can be terrorism, which is, one person's terrorism is another person's freedom fighter. So these words, I think, have a very emotional meaning for some people. So we need to define them, and then we can talk about them in a more meaningful manner.
You said there is a good terrorism and a bad terrorism?
Well, I think to terrorize the enemy, Allah said in the Quran, he said, prepare as much as you can to terrorize the enemy.
So yeah, they're categorizing terrorism now. So you've got a good terrorism would be the one where the bomb did go off, hundreds of people died. And the bad one would be where it didn't. Is that what we're down to?
The enemy of Allah and your enemy. This is in the Quran, chapter 8, verse 60. So,
Like,
terrorism is...
Guy Fawkes, he's a bad terrorist then. Because he never actually accomplished what he set out to do. Yet we celebrate that day. Because he didn't do what he set out to do. So we celebrate it. How fucked up is that? Celebrating a guy who didn't even do his job tidy.
It's part of Islam. In the battlefield, you terrorize them.
We're
You don't go to the battlefield
I tell him
and
now,
give
we're
them a
all
bunch of
fucked
flowers
up.
and some
We're
matai
fucked up,
and say, you know, I love you. Obviously, people kill each other. And there's a lot of wars taking place in the world today where people are terrorizing each other. So this is part and parcel of the world in which we live.
In May 2016, a delivery driver from Luton named Junaid Khan was jailed for life for plotting to kill US personnel outside an army airbase. We visited Luton Police Station to meet with Catherine Holloway to discuss the role of policing and what they're doing to combat terrorism.
Nothing!
It's absolutely fair to say that our funding...
Nothing! We're going to do nothing!
Compared to the other 42 police forces...
It's the same as all the rest of them around Britain. We're going to do nothing!
In England and Wales, other than Warwickshire, which is funded just below us, is low. And the reason that's particularly low and worrying for us is because, of course, Luton itself comes with all of the potential problems of a large London borough, which...
Shut up, you snobby-nosed rat. You don't give a fuck.
Perhaps isn't surprising when you consider just how close it is to the capital. So we do need greater funding. I obviously argue for that robustly behind closed...
Fucking crackhead, shut up.
...doors. But it's also a question of how you spend it. And in Luton recently, you'll have seen that I am the Deputy Chief Constable of Bedfordshire Police, came and attended...
You can right cunt to me. Yeah. Bet you're not in that job now. Guaranteed you ain't.
...and addressed a public meeting announcing the extra inspectors, sergeants and PCs that we were bringing specifically for more visible community...
And an early retirement to do. And an early retirement little package to do. Gotta get out now, gotta get out now. Fucking the walls are coming down on me.
Policing in the town. So it is possible, even within our own budget, to make some very significant differences. And since I've come into this post on May the 12th, that's exactly what you've seen for me. In
You fucking lying cunt.
response to the pledges that I made, I'm keeping my promises.
Shove it up, you fucking toffee ass.
No, I think the police are weak, cowardly and pathetic at dealing with this issue.
Yeah, gotta agree with that. You forgot, what's the word? What's the word? Really shit at their jobs. Might as well be fucking ice cream van drivers. To be fair, the police coppers. That's all they're good for. Fucking delivering ice cream.
That's not just in Luton, that's nationally. We saw recently Manchester police offering an apology because in their terrorism drill, someone shouted Allah Akbar. If there's a terrorist attack in this country, the person's going to shout Allah Akbar. So
if I hear that fucking somebody shouting that behind me, I'm ducking. I don't know about you lot, but I'm ducking straight away. Like I'm under a fucking table. Yeah. Waiting for the fucking boom.
If you're doing a terrorist drill and you want it to be realistic, then you shouldn't be apologising for that. It's not our fault or the police's fault that it's not non-Muslims' fault that Allah Akbar, God is greater, has become a phrase known with murder and destruction. That's not our fault. I mean, that's...
Or when they open up one of their shops, Allah's snack bar is open.
Muslims who have used it. So the police for years... Say, for example, I'll give you one example. I got an Osman warning by Beds Police, which they call me down to the police station and say, right, they read this bit of paper to me that said, members of the Bury Park community are enraged and angered by my recent TV productions, whatever. And we now have information and intelligence that suggests your life is in danger. We advise you to take your family, leave Luton for the foreseeable future and move to somewhere different. Yeah, this is from the police. So I said, give me that bit of paper. This in the police station. I want that bit of paper. And well, we're reading it to you. I said, no, I want that bit of paper. I want, if that's what a warning to me, I want the warning. Yeah? And I want it because I want everyone to see it anyway. And they know that. So then their faces are like, oh God. So they go away. They come back I'm sitting in the police station about an hour. They come back and give me it. When they've reworded it, they've took Berry Park community out of it. Muslim, the word Muslim. So people are angry now. Yeah. So the police intelligence tells them that members of the Muslim community from Berry Park are planning to kill me. But now when it comes to the warning that I'm given, they've taken that out. That's the problem. That's what I see. I said, you are the problem. You're scared, pathetic, and weak. Because you should just be honest. Honest. If members of the Berry Park Muslim community want to kill me, then give me a bit.
And extremely incompetent. That was the word I was thinking of. Big word for Sunday. I know. It took me a while to think of it. Incompetent. That's what they are. Incompetent.
Paper that says it. Don't be. It's political correctness plays too high of a part in Luton and for years. And I don't.
Competent. I like that. I might have that as word of the day. To be fair, incompetent. Competent.
Blame every police officer because most individual police officers, I think, hands are tied behind their back anyway.
After spending over 15 hours with Anjem and Tommy, we learned that the views of most people in the town didn't really align well with the Islam that Anjem preaches, nor the picture that Tommy paints of Muslims. To research the point further, we decided to take the discussion to experts in their respective fields.
Well, I've attended a number of mosques and listened to many sermons, at least when they're in English.
Peter Jolly, a local pastor who's been a resident of the town and has been regularly preaching to locals for 12 years.
That contravenes UK law, and never once. And I rather think that's something that media people who perhaps come up from London, it's very convenient, easy train ride to come up from London to come to Luton, and they make up assumptions. And that's really rather unfortunate. You need to come and live here and be a citizen of Luton to really see what's going on.
Pastor Peter, you know I do.
I don't think that Luton is a hotbed of terrorism. It is true that there have been people from Luton convicted of terrorist offences, but
still got your church of you.
I haven't seen any statistics, but I wonder if that's different to some of the London boroughs or some of the districts of Birmingham or Bradford or Dewsbury. It's true that
Bradford mentioned, man. I bet he's Pastor Peter's an imam now. I mean,
that in any community you get a minority of people who want to cause trouble. To pick on Luton and to say it's a hotbed of terrorism.
Oh, you can't pick on Luton. You can't call it Luton a hotbed of terrorism. You can't do that. You can't do that. Because that's fucking PC, innit? That's PC, bruv. Even the fucking priests are in on it now. Fucking he's in a mess. Luton's in a mess, bruv.
I'm not sure that's justified. I'd really like to see some statistics to back that up.
I am positive.
According to far-right groups, and it's also true to say many a media platform, Islam is the cause of extremism. To find out more, we spoke to Dr. Abdul Majid, a well-known Islamic scholar based locally in the town.
Or Luton, recently, some 4 or 5 people have been put into a life imprisonment because of their, found to be terrorists and this and
Adam, you mean Adam? Yeah.
That, of course, yes. It's everywhere in the whole world. A family might be having 10 children. Out of 10, maybe 2 will be good and 8 will be bad. And you can't say, we can see, we Asians, we give the example of the hand. This is one hand and it has got 5 fingers, and you can see the design, shape of the finger. One will be shorter, one will be longer, one will be like that. So even one hand and 5 fingers of the same hand are not equal, are not alike, are not same. So how can you expect the Luton to be a place of angel? This is not paradise, this is Luton. And this is nothing to be, Islam should not be blamed for that. The teachers and scholars should not be blamed for that, because teachers and scholars might be teaching them for 1 hour in a week, maybe for 2 hours in a class. But most of the time it is the media that is promoting that. Media is radicalizing them. Media is showing that somewhere the Muslims are being tortured and killed by the non-Muslims. So that gives the influence to the person who is watching that media. He gets the hatred against the non-Muslims. And he gets the hatred that this is my religion and this is where my Muslim sister who is wearing niqab and she is being raped or she's being stabbed. And she is thrown in front of the running train, and this is how the masjid is bombed, or the masjid is burned, or the Muslim family is burned. This is the media that shows 24/7, and they highlight so much in a day that if they would have used that time to highlight the advertisement, they might become millionaire in a day.
All right, I haven't seen none of them. I've seen none of that.
What about Islam? Is that a religion of violence? Well, I think you get people of violence in all religions. Speaking as a Christian, I'm a follower of Jesus. That's what it means to be a Christian, a follower of Jesus.
Big up, Peter.
Jesus, and he was the Prince of Peace. Even when he was being arrested, falsely arrested, he chose then to not to have any violence. He told his disciples to put away their swords. There was actually one of the men who came against him had his ear chopped off, and Jesus healed the man even when he was being attacked and arrested. So Jesus is my role model, and
take him years to get over that.
So I'm certainly a person of peace, and I would strongly urge that anybody who says they're a Christian should also be a person of peace. If they are a true Christian,
personally, peace off. Enough is enough.
They really should be a person of peace. Now, as for Islam, the origins, the roots are different. Muhammad, he had a period of time when he was a warlord and he was a warrior.
You're fucking wrong, Edinburgh! You're fucking wrong, Edinburgh! What are you doing? What are you on about?
And in the first few centuries of Islam, there was a lot of...
The greatest man on the earth! The greatest man alive! Bruv, what are you talking about, bruv? You're fucking wrong, Edinburgh! Fucking nuts!
Wars went on, so really the roots are different, and so we would expect to see people with different attitudes in Islam and Christianity. But the reality is that whatever label somebody has, here in Luton, I find that people are just people, whatever race or religion they come from, people are friendly.
Yeah, you could say that, you could say that. People have said that for years and that, but at the end of the day, it's not. People are just people, is it? I mean, we're in 2023 and we're still arguing over the colour of our fucking skin. We couldn't even make that up. That's how petty we are. That's how petty we are as fucking people. We're still arguing about people's skin colour and judging people on the colour of their bastard skin. Couldn't fucking make it up. So childish. So fucking childish. But people like to get into these little petty bullshit fucking scenario arguments. Look you, fucking brown skin, yeah, bring the summer, I'll be brown. But that's tan there. That's well, yeah. So I'm saying like, but you'll never be a black man. No, I will never be a black man. But even on the whites of, on the inside of a black man's hand is white, his skin is white. On the soles of his feet, his soles are white. So what are you going to see now?
They just want to get on with their lives. They want to see their children get through school, maybe go to university, get a good job, settle down. People are worried about all the same things that everybody else is worried about.
The colour of one's skin means nothing. Absolutely nothing. Purple, blue skin, green, brown, black, white, ginger. It means nothing. It is the content of your character. Unless you're a fucking Antifa mob. Then you've got jujus. You need help from Jesus proper then, because you've got jujus. And you need a good wash as well. Big up Antifa, you bunch of fucking brain dead silly cunts.
Brexit, the state of the economy, the next general election, all the things that other people are worried about. So I've got many Muslim friends, and I have never once been threatened with violence by a Muslim or indeed by anybody else here in Luton.
In Quran, in chapter 5, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, verses 30, 32, 31, 32, 33, it goes about the humanity. It says in the Quran in chapter 5, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, a person who saves, this is the teaching, doctrine, this is the fundamental teaching of Islam in the Quran, which people, they don't quote this, they quote Islam in a negative way. And looking at the example of the question that you have asked about so-called khilaf of today, people quote them, those things to promote Islam. But look what Islam says. Islam says that if a person saves one life, this is the Quran, chapter 5. It says when a person saves one life, as if he has saved the life of the whole humanity.
Yeah, but Kabut, you don't understand, don't you? Because your Quran is followed by another 1,000 books, backing it up, condemning your prophet, calling him out to be not a very good man. We know he's a barbaric warlord. We know that, and I don't think the Muslims fully accept that. But the hadiths that call him out as being a bit of a wrong un, apparently is for the time. Apparently is for the time back in the day. Oh, but Mary was 12, Mary was 13. Yeah, but it wasn't a bloke who had sex with her. It was God. Immaculate conception. It wasn't a barbaric warlord taking his fill or whatever he wanted, right hand possesses, whatnot. Yeah. Wasn't nothing like that. Killing all Aisha's family in front of her. Poor girl. Poor fucking girl. It's the books. Fucking books. Fucking hadiths. Fucking hadiths, man. And that's what I say. Modern Islam is basically condemning the Prophet. Like, it's not my words. It's the hadiths. If you want to follow the hadiths, then it's the hadiths that condemn him. It's the hadiths that actually say he took Aisha at 6 and had a kid out of her by 9. The Quran doesn't say it. So if I was personally, right, if I was a Muslim, I would be a Quran only Muslim, and that's what I would say. I don't follow them hadiths. There's no way I could stand there and say, well, yeah, this is the hadiths. I follow the hadiths. There's no way. It's the 1,000 hadiths that make it more confusing to a non-Muslim like me to even get my head around, to even start to want to learn to speak Arabic in the beginning and learn to get into the 5 pillars. I got time to fucking go and pray 5 times a day. Fuck that shit. I gotta work. We got kids to bring up, man. It's an excuse to get away from your wife. Fucking praying down fucking 5 times a day. Yeah. That's another thing. One wife should be enough for any man. One woman should be enough. Fuck me. One woman should be enough for any man. Fucking 5. Greedy as fuck. Greedy as fuck. But the obviously these 5 wives are not giving the man suki and what they really want, because they're then fucking joining up with a group of other males and then taking out white kids. So obviously the men are not giving their wives what they fucking want, do they? Yeah. If they want to be taking doing this fuckery to our white kids, white girls, dirty little rats, dirty little fucking rats, and fucking have none of it. Kind of know. And it's not about far right, far left, fucking fascists and Nazism. Big up, Leighton. It's not even about that, right? It's about what's right and wrong, and what at the moment now is good for Britain going forward. But it's got to get nasty. It's got to get nasty, guys, for it to be right. The old shit shabonka. It's got to be spun, demolished, like Jesus did with the temple. Smashed it, rebuild that fucking in 3 days. You know what I mean? Well, the British people, we can rebuild Britain. The people who love Britain, we can rebuild it, no problem. No problem at all. But from like the apple, like if you think of it like an apple, yeah, from the core, it's rotten in it. Everything's rotten. You can't have anything to growth, flourish if the root is rotten. Like, that's the sort of thing, catch-22 we're in now as British citizens, looking forward for our kids' future. Whatever kids, you know what I mean, kids you got, girls, boys, at the end of the day, it's not a good future. It's not a good future, right? It's a frightening future as a parent. And I'm not even living in England. I'm 140 miles from London, and that's close enough. That's close enough for me. I'll deal with it. I'll deal with it when it comes into Wales. But at the moment, it's England. They're taking the biggest chunk, taking the biggest chunk first, and taking all the love the English people got for their country, and just throwing it back in their face and making them feel it's not proud. You're not proud. There's not many men proud to be English no more. We get in the slave thing. Oh, slave! You gotta have these statues, and we can't celebrate our troops. We can't celebrate Remembrance Day from World War II. We can't do nothing here. All the things that we once took for granted, and the values we stood by, are being dissolved before our very eyes. And if things don't change, I shit you not, if things don't change, 25 years, 30 years time, when we'll be the minority, because Britain's not a very massive island. Britain is not a massive island, guys, and it can only hold so many people, and it's on his knees now, as we all know. It just can't cope. Like, we got to be honest with ourselves. We can't have this. We can't deal with this influx of people. We just can't deal with it. And the quicker people start realizing that and computing that, and the infrastructure is not good, the NHS is not equipped. Everybody's going on strike now like it's a fashion. All workers are striking like it's a fashion. What about us? What about our fucking pay? Oh, let's go on strike. Yeah, might as well go on strike. Yeah. Even that, I'll celebrate anything that's worth celebrating. You know what I mean? And to an extent, I would imagine it's a couple of communities which are still allowed to remember the fallen. Iron in love. People have been working blindlessly, aimlessly, to 2 jobs, 3 jobs, and looking at them people on the dole or on the sick, taking a piss, taking a free ride, and thinking, wow, you were sitting on your ass all day. You've lied to the government saying you've got all these mental issues. Yeah, there's nothing fucking wrong with you. Everybody knows there's nothing wrong with you. And on top of that, now we got all our hotels being turned into fucking way stations for immigrants just to come and go freely. Fucking walk up to our kids as they're coming out to school. The streets are whose streets? I don't know whose streets they are. especially in England. I don't know whose streets. My community here is tough streets still. Thank God, touch wood. Tough streets. The Valley people streets. We still own our streets. No doubt about that. But there'll come a time where it'll be like Bradford. It'll be like Luton. It'll be like Rotherham. When that doubt will be there. Oh, I don't know. Are these streets our streets? Could we immobilize if we needed to? What a fucking piss take. It's the biggest fucking piss take, 2023. 2023, the biggest piss take. And we are the fucking laughing. We are the piss take. The British people laughed at. Being fucking laughed at, we are. Absolutely laughed at. It's like man has lost his backbone. Man. Never mind about the gentleman. Yeah. Never mind about the Taffies and the Evans and the Leightons and the Shavits. It's a time for a gentleman in the right time. But now's not the time for the gentleman. Now's the time for a fucking man to be a man. And like, I'm telling you now, guys, right? The boys in their World War II graves will be turning. They'd be turning. They will. To see the shit show their fucking island, which they fought for, has been turned into. By an elite 1%, fucking bunch of clowns, and at the end of the day, us for voting them in, and slowly we're all being turned into snowflakes. Man, woman now is like a pre-noun. They want to be known as they. They want to be known as he, she. They want to be known as I don't fucking know. I don't know. Teaspoon. People call it whatever you want. What do you want to be known as today? I'll be known as a shopping trolley today. Yeah. Okay. If that's what you want to do, we'll call you shopping trolley today. Yeah. Get back to basics. We want to just like he, she, he and she, him and her. Get back to basics. Yeah, and this LGBTQ shit, and that can just go on a back burner and that because it's getting too much. It's too much. It's too much, and it's too much too fast. Too much too fast. Because if our as adults are looking around thinking, what the fuck is coming next? Which way? What way? Yeah, they're turning us right. What's coming next? Yeah. If we haven't got a clue what's happening, then how the kids gonna fucking? It's not fucking. I ain't frightened of nothing, guys. But my daughter's future frightens to death. Frightens me to death. Fact, 100%. Frightens the fucking life out of me. Genuinely. I wouldn't be talking to you like this now if I didn't have an 8-year-old, 9-year-old daughter. You'd hear my voice. I still have the same sort of attitude, but having a daughter in Britain, growing up, oh, frightening, guys. Frightening. Like, you could only understand if you had a daughter in Britain. Yeah. Fucking shit show, but it's a shit show. Shit show of fucking of stolen identities, mixed identities. People can't decide who they want to be. It's just fucked up. It's fucked up. It is just fucked up. Like, there's no other way to. Like, you've got these Antifa mob and they go, Nazis come off our street. They don't even know. They're chanting it, right? Because the guy next door to him and the woman next door to him is chanting it. And I was like, oh, they must be paying them too much. Like, must be paying them way too much money. You fucking idiots, lah. They are a threat. They are a threat, but it's like they're a threat which is going to go. And I mean, nobody's going to take them seriously until we got to take them seriously. That seems to be Britain's biggest mistake. Biggest mistake is we got this British attitude of, I mean, allow it type of thing. Allow it until it's really bad, and then deal with it. If this grooming and they were like GB News was doing the documentaries 35 years ago, we wouldn't even be most probably talking about it now. It'll be something like in the past that we can talk about and just say, look, this happened, but this is how we dealt with it. When you've got British media bullshit now, fake news, and you've got the establishment from top to bottom in all departments fucking you over and not really we're on your side, give us your money, give us your taxes. Do you know what I mean? We'll promise you things, keep you sweet in that, keep you sweet with this, that, the other. Yeah. It's a fucking it's unbelievable. And like I just said, at the same time, that's little fucking cockroaches, peasants, right? We're still arguing about our skin color. We still can't get over the fact that, you got brown skin, you got black skin. Do you know what I mean? That makes you some sort of fucking different man to me. In the sense of you are a black man or you are a brown man, yeah, but you're still a fucking man. You're still a fucking man at the end of the day. Look you in the eye, huh? I can look you in the eye, yeah? Man to man. Look you in the eye as men. Regardless of your skin colour. But this thing in Kirkby and up in Liverpool, get used to that. Get used to that, because that's come in every town, I believe. I hope, and I don't want to. Like I said about the only way we can rebuild something wholesome and something better is by getting rid of the old. Like a cleansing of Britain. Get out the rotten. Get the rotten out. Drain the swamp. Drain the swamp. As old Trump used to say. Drain that fucking swamp. We need it, and we need another party. We need another party to vote for in Britain. These Labour and Conservative are a bunch. They're two ends of the same coin. Both working from the same fucking office. Yeah. Things can only get better. You have a fucking laugh. You have a fucking laugh.
Humanity, this is the Quranic word. And if a person has taken the life of someone, innocent life, innocent soul, then that person has as if killed the whole humanity.
Shove it up your arse. Go get your cat. Go get your beard done. Yeah. They're chopping people's heads off, bro, for fun. What are you not getting? Go have a beard cut, you scruffy fucker.
After several hours of interesting discussion with these scholars, we shifted the discussion to the topic of ISIS.
I think we need to be very careful when we talk about Sharia law, because it can mean different things to different people. To most Muslims,
be careful. This is the trouble. What do you mean be careful? Sharia law is in countries where Sharia law. So what are you being careful about it for? We're under British law. So you can speak about Sharia law because there's not going to be Sharia law. You're not going to offend nobody because we're under British law.
I know, it does mean a complete system of following the religion of Islam, and as such I don't think it should be imposed in this country, because this is a multicultural.
You don't think it should be imposed?
cultural country where there are people of many different religions and indeed quite a lot of atheists, increasing number of atheists. So,
Pastor Peter, have you still got your church? Or you now a name man working in a mosque?
I really don't think we need to be imposing anyone's religious law. If we're saying that people should be free to practice their own religion, then certainly, yes, people should be free to practice their own religion. This is something I feel very strongly about. I know that some Christians in some Muslim majority countries suffer restrictions, and I certainly wouldn't want to see Muslims suffering restrictions in this country. I think we really should be free to follow our own religions.
That hasn't worked, Pastor Peter. It's nice. It sounds nice. And looks good on paper. Doesn't work.
Just very recently, it's been in the news about the bikini ban in France. I feel quite...
What a fucking liberty. Banning bikinis. Banning bikinis and that. Because they want women are walking around like fucking ninjas. Yeah? Want to come in and ban bikinis. Put everybody in a ninja outfit. Imagine all our women now walking around like ninjas. Fuck off.
Uncomfortable about that because after all, as far as I know, no woman in a burkini has ever committed a terrorist act.
A burkini. Did you hear that? A burkini, you're having a laugh.
People should be free to practice their own religion, then certainly, yes, people should be free to practice their own religion. This is something I feel very strongly about. I know that some Christians in some Muslim majority countries suffer restrictions, and I certainly wouldn't want to see Muslims suffering restrictions in this country. I think we really should be free to follow our own religions. Just very recently, it's been in the news about the bikini ban in France. I feel quite uncomfortable about that because after all, as far as I know, no woman in a burkini has ever committed a terrorist...
Burkini. Like it's a burkini. Pastor Peter, he's a Muslim.
Now, if people want to go to the beach dressed like that, then surely that's up to them. If some people are offended by it, then I think they really ought to get...
Yeah, it's all good out at the beaches, dressed up like ninjas. Black as well. The hottest sort of clothing you could wear. Just do it. Come on. Imagine you saying that you're bird. We're gonna go down the beach and you're gonna. This is what you're wearing. Imagine your missus turn around to you. The fuck? Yeah. Well, I'm in my shorts and my fucking flip flops. Yeah. With my Ray-Bans on. Joint in my mouth, and she's dressed up like a fucking ninja. Black.
A life and really learn to respect people from other cultures. After all, you can go to some places in France where you'll find topless women. Many people find that offensive. I think we need to recognize that here in Europe and certainly here in Luton, we live in a very multicultural sort of place, and we've got to learn to respect each other and get on with each other. So let's just get over ourselves and just
shut up, Peter. To be fair, like shut up, like you rebelling, like. At the end of the day, we don't have much sunshine in Britain, to be fair, right? To get into our fucking budgie smugglers and shorts, burkinis, as he puts it. Yeah. Sandals. Nobody want to be dressed up like a ninja when it's fucking like 30-odd degrees, Peter. Nobody want to do that, like. That's what you want. That's what you want for our women and I, yeah. Fucking silly cunt.
And get
silly
on
cunt. Surrounded by silly
Khalifa
cunt.
of Abu Bakr Baghdadi, if he claims to be Khalifa, then for me to know whether he's right or wrong, I have to go back to my Khalifas during the time of the Sahaba. During the time of, after the death of Prophet Muhammad, Abu Bakr was Khalifa.
I don't even know what they're fucking moaning about and that, because they can't even get women their own age and that, like, you know what I mean? They got to be taking our girls fucking underage. I don't know what they're fucking on about. Yeah. Yeah, but they couldn't even put their white one on. They're gonna have to put their black one on so it attracts the sun. You know what I mean? Sweating, I bet they stink in her. Pissed. It's like a biggest piss taking her. I I don't want other men to be looking at you, but I can go out and have another 4 wives. But I don't want no other men to look at you. So basically, I'm gonna put you in a fucking Sulu bin. Yeah, and you can just open the top of the Sulu bin so I can see your eyes. Fuck, you're having a laugh. Imagine me saying that to my missus. Imagine me saying that to fucking one of you girls. And you're gonna say, Taff, you on fucking crystal meth today, bro? What are you smoking today, Taff? Because I'll stay here. I ain't going to no beach in a fucking ninja outfit or fucking in a Sulu bin. You're off your head. I'll stay here, like. You go. Make it up.
Caliph. Umar was Caliph. Uthman was Caliph. Ali was Caliph. And the Sahaba after that who lived. So we have the whole list of caliphs. We have got all the list of Muslim kings and leaders.
Who gives a fuck, bro? To be fair, like wipe me up, like. Who gives a fuck? Let's have a look at this Stacey Dooley. Okay. See if I can get a non-BBC one. Can't find that. If I found this, I'll end it on this. Because I'll just go on ranting on about it all fucking day to wind me up. This is an anti-Islamic extremism protest, EDL, in Luton, 10 years ago. Leighton, that don't surprise me, love. Wrong uns will do wrong things. These bunch of clowns. They've got a fucking clue what they're doing.
Top one on here is a reserve. Bill, stay on the road, mate. Mark, take your section between them two carriers. And reinforce the line,
Yeah, Leighton, I was only on about that. I think they're getting paid too much because, like, they really seem to be like grouping up and into this shit. Like, I think they're paying them way too much. I might go undercover and see how much they get paid. Do you know what I mean? Taffy undercover. That sounds good. Taffy undercover. Donald McIntyre style. Is that serious? College kids get an A to protest, or an A in protesting, or like an A in mathematics or whatever they're doing. Like, oh, Jacko Robinson. Can't see that, like, getting an A to fucking if they go out and protest. A, silly cunts, what are you doing? That's what I do. I'm telling you now, I'd go undercover, infiltrate the Taff. I go in fucking Taffeta, Mrs. Taffeta. Get fucking from my waist up, back on my back, like I'm pretty manly, innit? Yeah. You look a bit awkward, like, but from my waist down, I get away with it. I reckon. I get away with it. If in all fairness, I would make a really good copper too. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't be like none of these cunts, but like you can get twisted as being. I think copper is you being told what to do. I'd rather be like proper CID copper, catching proper criminals, not busting people for fucking 10 bags of green. Do you know what I mean? Just to make up the numbers and I don't fancy that at all. Like in that sense, like and over you and ends Leighton and the coppers with the guns and I take my hat off to them, but I take my hat off to anybody who want to be a copper over you end, bro. Yeah, tough. No, I'd be like international fucking activist of mystery. Nobody would know, bro. Nobody would know that I'd be shit hot. You know what I mean? Won't be no amateur fucking like be proper like. Do it tidy, innit? They want to know a difference, but Taffeta. Who is this Taffeta? I don't know. Could be Taffy's sister. No, I don't think so. I had 6 bacon sandwiches and the old pack of bacon. and finished off the bread. And nearly finished off the HB sauce, to be fair. Yeah, I've done a whole pack of bacon. I'll check it out, mate. I'll check it out.
Teach me not a thing, can only get better. Can only get, take it off from me, you know. I know that things can only get better. I sometimes lose myself in me. I lose track of time. And I can't see the woods for the trees. You said I'm alive, but the bridges as you go. I'm doing too far, yeah. I got my personal hell to do. And then you say, walk my path with my shoes. Talk like that, I'll be an angel and a thing. Can only get better. Can only get better. Now I found you. Come in with a tear like thing. Can only get better. Can only get better. Now I found you and you. Show me prejudice and greed, and you show me how I must learn to deal with this disease. I look at things now in a different light than I did before, and I found the cause, and I think that you can be my cure. So teach me to walk your path. Yes, you talk like that, I'll be an angel and a thing. Can only get better. Can only get better.
Remember this, guys? Remember this fucking bullshit? And after the song came out, everything went worse. Leighton, I believe they did do it by getting us to bicker about things like the colour of our skin. They do it to get us to argue and just worry about stuff that we should never be worrying about. And that causes worry, that causes division, that causes mental health. And the best way to do it might not be this generation of kids, but they're already targeting the fourth generation, if you know what I mean. They're already looking at that like one world government, one leader. And usually we follow suit in that where it comes in America, like Black Lives Matter, whatnot. It's all the same. It's guaranteed it'll leak into Britain. It'll follow. Maybe a year later, we're about a year behind you here with regards to it. I think I've always said it's a good job we haven't got guns. Like you lot out there, we haven't got guns. Christ, imagine if we had guns in Britain. Jesus fucking Christ. I know we have got guns, don't get me wrong, but lawfully, that would be insane. Yeah, well, they're having their what do they call it? They're having their fucking they pay money for being slaves and that back in the day. They're having their fucking millions given back to them. Yeah. So I don't think they'd be happy with that. I don't think they'd be happy with that. I won't pay no gaudy looking chain. I am tempted, but what I will do, I'll go one of my streets. I don't know if you know the streets, but this is good too. Bang in town. Down. 2, 1, 2. 2, 1, 2.
This ain't the down, it's the upbeat, make it complete. So what's the story? Guaranteed accuracy, enhanced CD. Latest technology, darts at treble 20. Huge non-recoupable advance, majors be vigilant. I excel in both content and deliverance. So let's put on our classics and we'll have a little dance, shall we? No sales pitch, no media hype. No hydro, it's nice and right. I speak in communications in bold type. This ain't your archetypal street sound. Scan for ultrasounds, north, south, east, west and all round. And then to the underground.
You say that everything sounds the same, then you go by them. There's no excuses, my friend. Let's push things forward. You say that everything sounds the same, then you go by them. There's no excuses, my friend. Let's push things forward.
As we progress to the checkpoint, I wholeheartedly agree with your viewpoint, but this ain't your typical garage joint. I make points which hold significance. That ain't a bag, it's a shipment. This ain't a track, it's a movement. I got the settlement. My frequencies are transient and resonate your eardrums. I make bangers, not anthems. Leave that to the artful dodger. The broad-shouldered 51% shareholder. You won't find us on Alta Vista. Cult classic, not bestseller. You're gonna need more power. Plug in the free phase and the generator. Crank it up to the gigawatts. Critics ready with your pot shots. The plot thickens. Put on your mittens for these sub-zero conditions. But remember I'm just spitting. Remember I'm just spitting. Once bitten, forever smitten.
You say that everything sounds the same, then you go by them. There's no excuses, my friend. Let's push things forward. You say that everything sounds the same, then you go by them. There's no excuses, my friend. things forward.
Spit jewels like Eastern riches, junkie fixes. Around here we say birds, not bitches. As London Bridge burns down, Brixton's burning up. Turns out you're in luck, so I know this dodgy fucking the duck. So it's just another show flick from your local city poet. Case you geezers don't know it, let's push things forward. It's a tall order, but we're taller. Calling all maulers, backstreet brawlers, corner shop crawlers. Victory's flawless. Love us or hate us, but don't slate us. Don't conform to formulas. Pop genres and such. Sharp darts, double dutch. Park cars, troubles are much with more bud. Let's push things forward.
You say that everything sounds the same, then you go by them. There's no excuses, my friend. Let's push things forward. You say that everything sounds the same, then you go by them. There's no excuses, my friend. Let's push things forward.
And I'm going to play this one. This will be track out. Thank you all for coming along. You know I love you. No homo. Especially you ladies, obviously. But appreciate you coming around, guys. For my rant. Sunday rant. Final tune of the day from Taff. If I can find it. Big up, guys.
Dead is flown across the ocean, leaving just a memory. A snapshot in the family album. Daddy, what else did you leave for me? Daddy, what you leave behind for me? All in all it was just a brick in the wall. All in all it was all just bricks in the wall.
Oh, Leighton, me too, bro. Me too. Oh, we have to jump on the panel, bro. Me and you have a chat soon. Yeah? Yeah. Big up, lad.
When we grew up and went to school, there were certain teachers who would hurt children any way they could. Pouring their derision upon anything we did, exposing every weakness, however carefully hidden by the kid. We don't need no education. We don't need no thought control. No dark sarcasm in the classroom. Teacher, leave them kids alone. Hey, teacher, leave them kids alone. All in all, it's just another brick in the wall. All in all, you're just another brick in the wall.
Big up peoples. Big up peoples. Tough out. Might catch up with you later. Never know. See how I feel after my dinner.